How we doing, boys and girls? Good morning. Welcome in, welcome in.
Hello there.
How we doing, Elias? Welcome in. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, a little bit early today. A little bit early, starting nice and I've been up a while. It's getting hot, right? So I've got to get up a bit earlier. Take the dog out for a walk. Had to go to the store, do a bunch of stuff. So we're up already. We're still pre-coffee though. I need my coffee. I'm not feeling quite the same without my caffeine. But good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Hope you're well. Let's turn the tunes down just a touch. Hope everybody's doing all right. There's a couple of things today. A couple of things that I think we need to take a little bit of a look at. A few people, alpha yet? No, unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. Blizzard doesn't love me. There's a few things that we can try and catch up a little bit on today. There's more people seem to have had a little bit of a look at the specializations in Dragonflight for professions. That is obviously. I've just seen that Towley appears to have put a video out specifically on them, which I haven't yet watched. But he has a specialization talent trees in Dragonflight. Now, I know Towley is not necessarily the first person you'd think of when you come to professions, but there's not many people out there that are paying the professions even 5 minutes worth of their time. See, people seem to be glossing over it, so we have to take the resources from where we can get them. So we'll take a little bit of a look at this in a bit. Hopefully we can, kind of gather a little bit more information about how these specializations are going to work. My first thoughts when Blizzard said specialization was, well, it's going to be like a talent tree system, and it kind of is. But they seem to have split the specializations out, and then there's a talent tree within each specialization, so it's a bit weird. But we'll look at that in a little bit. We'll get to that. We'll go through all the news and stuff like that as well. I want to just quickly fire through. I say quickly every day, and it ends up taking me forever. But I want to quickly fire through some of my realms, make sure my pets are in order, make sure that Project Pet is ticking along nicely. I still really need to do put a bit of time towards making a couple more episodes of Project Pet for YouTube. I feel that I'm dealing with this daily on stream, but not really giving it much love on YouTube. Mainly because we've switched focus just a little bit to Dragonflight in the alpha, but does that one character mean that... Well, the theory seems to be that you'll unlock all of the specializations at some point, and it's in your best interest to do it, because there seems to be certain aspects, things like optional reagents and finishing reagents, which are actually locked off until you specialize into certain areas. The goal was always by Blizzard to make it so that you're restricted to what you can do to begin with, but by the end you'll be able to learn everything. It's just the way that I expected that to be was, your regular ass talent tree. But it appears it's not necessarily that straightforward. But we'll get to that. That's not a bad price. We'll have one of those. I have a bit of a problem with Project Pet. I was using the TSM ledger to try and track all of my sales, and my ledger seems to have gone a bit wonky-saurus. It seems to maybe be doubling up all of my purchases in the ledger. Don't know why it's decided to do it, but it's going to make it a little bit harder for me to try and track exactly what we're spending, what we're buying, and how much profit we're making, which is a frustration. I can no, that's the wrong screen. I've been using the ledger to try and track stuff, and it's been doing weird things. It's doubled everything, and I don't know why it's doubled everything. I think it has something to do with the fact that I made the level 25 group, and now it's counting everything twice for some reason. Oh, now it's not counting anything at all. Okay. 20 seconds there. See, yesterday a VOD went up on the TV YouTube channel. I just did it manually. I had this little bit of software that was meant to do it automatically, and it has obviously been broken for a long time. So I was like, right, well, I'll just have to remember to do it manually then, won't I? So yes, I will then be putting the VODs up manually. Especially with all this Dragonflight stuff, there's a good chance that we'll go through stuff on stream, and I know a lot of the footage from stream might actually be useful to people, so I obviously do not expect anybody to sit down and watch like full VODs on YouTube, but yep, see, it's doubling shit. It's doubling all of, like, somehow I have not spent 11 million gold on pets. I have absolutely not, and it seems to have doubled all of these numbers. Seems to have counted everything twice, because I have not done 4 million in sales. It seems to have doubled everything. Now, if it doubled the purchases and doubled the... I don't know. I don't know what it's done, but it's done a stupid. And I don't know how to fix it stupid. It's still claiming that this... Why can I not... Why can I select... This group doesn't exist anymore. I've deleted this group in-game. Well, yeah, I have drilled down the groups, but this level 25 group doesn't actually exist anymore. But it's obviously still in TSM's database somewhere. And I can't select just the... I can't not select this, which feels really weird. If I select one, it selects everything. I don't seem to... Yeah, I've busted it somehow. I've definitely broke it. That's... Whoa, 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 hang on. That was closer to what was true. How did I... No. 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 No, that's still not right. That's just everything. That's just everything. I don't know. It's bust. I'll work out how Ledger is going to be fixed at some point. Short term, it's just broken. Oh, this isn't even Project Pet character. This is just my regular bank toon. Let's open all of this then. Let's put all this back on the auction house. Oh, this little server's dying a death. I really need to consider... I need to pick a new server. I need to pick a new server to move some toons to. Yeah, I need to pick a new server. Problem is if all my characters are Alliance, if I pick a new server, I run the risk of having to not only transfer them, but also faction change them, which is just annoying. Because if I'm going to move somewhere, I'm going to move to somewhere big. A Draenor or a Kazakh. I think Taran Mill's a bit crowded nowadays. Spent all my millions on silly little things right before our baby was about to be born. Very little time for gaming since. Finally broke past the 1 million liquid gold mark again this morning. Hey, nice one, dude. Nice one. Congratulations. And I hope the little one's doing well. It's a good feeling when you break those milestones again and you get, you know, you can kind of, you just breathe out and you're like, ah, relief. Got it. TSM Ledger, then go to Groups tab on the left and see if you can remove the level 25 group from there. It's not a bad shout. The groups... I've deleted it in-game. It may just be that TSM's taking its sweet-ass time to track that. Because this thing doesn't update all that very frequently. Saranuva, welcome in. Good morning to you, sir. Hope you're not dying of heat over in the UK still. Rumour has it, it's a little bit toasty over there right now. Feels good to hit that restock knowing that you can craft every single item without caring about the cost. Yeah. Yeah, that's always nice. Oh my lord, what is all of this shenanigans? 5,955 groups. This is not quite as straightforward, is it? This isn't going to be quite as straightforward to do anything with, and it's also exposing all my Patreon stuff. Yeah, we want to be careful doing that. Maybe I'll do that not on stream. That might be a smart move. We'll come back to that. I'll work that out another day. Bit cooler today. Complain when it's hot, complain when it's cold. Yeah, yeah. So I moved to Finland. I've always got a really good choice, a really good reason to complain about the weather. It's always either too hot or too cold. It's wonderful. Alright. It's getting a bit toasty here today. It's not UK heat wave weather, but it's still a little bit toasty. It's high 20s today, which is still unusual for Finland. Right. Let's see if we've sold anything. Let's see if we can find any cheap goodies kicking about. I'm now sort of getting to the point where I can start buying pets on these other realms that we've expanded to. Starting to get enough gold that I can feel comfortable actually spending some of it if we see some bargains, see some deals. If the game would load anytime soon. Here we go. So yeah, I can show you like that level 25 group. I just deleted it because I assumed that it was duplicating everything because of it, and I wasn't using it yet. So my battle pets group is just battle pets. In fact, if I make a level 25 battle pets group, I probably won't make it a subcategory. I'll make it its own parent group, and that might help the problem. But I don't need the level 25 group yet because I'm not dealing with level 25 pets. I should do, but I need to expand a little further first. All the undercuts though. I've also been using that little website, the WoW thing website, to keep track of what gold is on which characters. And we can start to see, slowly but surely every day. Now obviously this isn't tracking like historical data, so you just got to kind of, eyeball it. But we're starting to get to the point where we're getting a reasonable amount of gold on these other servers now. Twisting Nether is just popping off. Twisting Nether is one of the best servers in the EU for selling pets by the looks of things. BlackRock, one of the German realms, is doing reasonably well as well. Nearly 200k in sales over there so far. Or, we might have even had more, but that's what we've got currently. Like 40, 50k plus on nearly every one of them. A few down here. The French realms, the French realms are tragic. And I was wondering why the French realms were underperforming. And I thought that, well, maybe it's just I don't have enough pets on them. So I did a little bit of digging yesterday to try and find out, well, is it just because I'm listing like 3 pets on the French realms? And it's not. They just seem to be really, really underperforming for pets. All the kind of information that you have no idea until you try. But it's only small sample size. This is the problem. I'm still doing everything at what I consider a very small scale. A lot smaller than what I know some people are doing, at least, anyway. Let's probably make sure that we're caging up anything new. Twisting Nether might be a good place to move some crafters to. Maybe. I've always heard good things about that realm. It seems to be kind of like it seems to sit in, it's kind of, there's plenty of people there. There's enough people there, but it's not as actually mental crazy as the top 2, Draenor. Well, Draenor, Kazakh, probably Taran Mill. are like the 3 realms that are just absolutely bonkers. But there's a few that seem to sit sort of in a like a happy medium, you know, big enough that there are players still on there, and that there's a good economy there, but not so ridiculously big that you just get undercut within half a second of posting something. Oh yeah, I think Method's on Twisting Nether. Yeah, that's obviously got something to do with it. If you've got one of the world first guilds, you know, kicking about on your realm, then it's going to bring a lot of players to it just naturally. I kind of worry though that, you know, if I don't know, I tend to have this theory that why would I not want to put my auctions in front of as many people as possible? You can always fight against competition. What you can't fight against is just a physically smaller market. This is one of the big arguments in goal making. Is like, well, is a high pop server better than a low pop server? Well, a low pop server has one huge factor that you can do nothing about. The fact that there's just considerably less people that play on that realm. There is statistically less people out there that might even want to buy your thing. Which is why I always want to put my characters in a position, if I'm crafting things to sell it, I want to put my items in front of as many people as possible. Give, you know, the more people who might buy my thing, the better chance I have of selling that thing. Sure, bigger servers come with bigger competition, but you can fight against competition. There is ways and means to set yourself apart from the competition. Either by just, you know, putting more effort in, or pricing, you know, aggressively, or loads of ways you can do it. But you can't magic more players on a realm. Medium pop's good for my playtime. The full pops are really tempting though. Yeah, playtime is one of the things. I should probably preface all of this with saying, you know, I have all of the time I need in, you know, reasonable terms. When you get to the point where you can I technically do this for a living. So on that premise, you know, if I need to spend some time doing something, I can spend some time doing it. People that are quite restricted to like a few hours maybe in the evening after work or after college or school or whatever, I understand that you put yourself on a full pop server, you don't have the time to both play the game and to also, you know, focus on selling things and making some gold if that's what you want to do. I didn't claim any new pets. There was only one, it's fine. Few people have said that Silvermoon is a weird realm for gold making, strong competition but low profits. Well, with it being the biggest alliance realm, alliance players naturally filter to Silvermoon, but the way that the meta for the game has been for so long is that even though Silvermoon is a massively populated server, the raiding scene, the PvP scene, the Mythic Plus scene there is still not very strong because it's alliance, you know. The best alliance server is kind of like saying the shiniest turd. It's still a turd. No offense to anybody that plays on Silvermoon, but my point here is that if you are playing Alliance full stop, it's you're at a natural disadvantage anyway.
Can I lighten that coin
Because
purse
everybody's
for ya?
playing Horde. And everybody has been playing Horde for 5+ years at this point. All of the big guilds are mostly Horde. You know, those barriers are slowly but surely sort of breaking down, but as a forever Alliance player, I take offense. Hey, I'm Alliance for life. I've been Alliance for basically forever. But I also understand that by being Alliance, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to have the best opportunities when it comes to raiding or Mythic Plus or PvP. That's right, go away from Silvermoon. Well, I do have a tune on Silvermoon flipping pets now, but That's the only interactivity I have with Silvermoon currently. That's changed with cross-faction play right now. Yeah, but it's still that's very fresh. The wound is very fresh, you know? It's going to take a long time before the 80-20, you know, top heaviness of Horde-dominated factions balances out a little bit. That balance doesn't happen instantly. It's going to take time for more players to decide that, right, well, now I can play with my Horde friends in, you know, raids and dungeons and stuff. Then, well, maybe we'll start making Alliance characters because I actually prefer some of the Alliance classes and races and that sort of stuff. It took 5+ years for it to get this out of balance. It's going to take a while before it rebalances. And until there becomes a few significantly decent Alliance guilds, it will still stay very Horde dominated. The big three, PvP, Mythic Plus and Raiding, is dominated by Horde. If you roll an Alliance character, you're going to find it significantly more difficult to be competitive in those areas of the game, which are the big 3 areas of endgame. It's not even, you know, it's this is barely even an opinion at this point. It's just factual. With guilds still only being one faction only, it's a bit of a band-aid for Mythic Plus and Pug raids. Yeah, see, it's only, you know, it's only just changing. It's only just changing. It's changing in the right direction, but it's only just started. And until they do something with guilds, it's not going to make a huge difference. Take a page out of Final Fantasy XIV's book, make it so that there is no restrictions between Alliance and Horde players as long as war mode is off, i.e. chat, raid, dungeons, outdoor questing, party, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I mean, at face, I understand Ian Hazakostas has said this a few times in interviews, and it's one of the few times I kind of, you know, 100% believe what comes out of his mouth. It's more of a case that the game from a fundamental level has been built so that Horde and Alliance characters are mortal enemies. You know, there's enough spaghetti code in this game after 18 years as it is to put 2 big bundles of spaghetti and trying to connect them nicely is maybe not necessarily as straightforward as it sounds. Because it's, you know, bedded deep in the, you know, the code of this game for that to just not be a thing. Whereas, you know, it makes sense that they start with instanced areas, because instanced areas, you know, they, you know, are run completely separately and they can manage those more effectively. But it's like mixing spaghetti with gluten-free spaghetti. Something like that. Which one's regular? Which one's gluten-free then? Arguments in chat, go. I'm gonna faction change due to shame. Hey, I'm Alliance for life. Although, there's a good chance I'll be Horde by the time Dragonflight comes. Just because I want to play on the biggest server and give myself the best opportunities.
I know a buyer when I see one.
Alliance is gluten-free, obviously. Obviously. I don't know. You look at some of those bloated orcs, though, and you're kind of like, maybe they've got a gluten allergy. Maybe they should put the pasta down. I mean, they are green, for Christ's sake. Something's not right, surely. When you've literally turned green, that should be a hint. Should be a big hint there. Ended up making a Horde character so I could play Mythic Plus more effectively. Pug groups on Alliance can take a long time to form. Yeah, it's just practical, you know? The reality is the gameplay of playing as an Alliance character or as a Horde character is nearly indistinguishable. other than you're knocking about in a different city for the most part. So, you know, if it takes 20 minutes to try and find a group as an alliance character, but only 5 minutes to find a group as a horde character, why wouldn't you play the horde character, you know? It's just sensible.
Itself.
Faction change Paladin to Alliance, although all my friends and family are Horde, gonna play with them through cross-faction instead. Yeah, I'm hoping... Now, you see in Shadowlands, that's perfectly viable. Because your desire to go and do world-based content is, like, none right now. Most people completed Zereth Mortis months ago, it feels, at this point. Nobody's really in the outer world like at all, even if they're playing. So currently, yeah, 90% of your playtime is probably going to be in some sort of instanced area, meaning this, you know, cross faction change is fine. Where it's going to come, where it's going to come unstuck though is when we move into Dragonflight, and at least for the very first patch of an expansion. You know, the world content is the content, and it also appears that that's a focus that Blizzard is trying to push. They're trying to push that the world content is the world content. We don't have a Torghast. We don't have an Island Expeditions. We're going to have 4 big zones. The way Ian Hazakostis described it was like we've basically got 4 Zereth Mortises. You know, 4 big zones, each with their own storylines, each with their own stuff to do in, each with their own, like, renown, rep, grind sort of things in them. The world content is going to be a dominant feature of the game. And if you get too used to, you know, you're an alliance character and you get too used to playing with your horde friends, now all of a sudden you can't because you're back to being mortal enemies again. Yeah, it's gonna be a bit odd.
Got the best deal
This is one thing I've seen a lot of from Blizzard recently. It's good that they're trying to push change, and they're trying to push change in the right direction. But a lot of the things they're doing and a lot of the things they're saying kind of counteract each other. They're almost hypocritical. It's like they want everybody to be able to play together, but oh, now we're going to make an expansion that's very heavily focused on world content where you can't play together. It's like, what are you trying to do here, Blizzard? What is your actual goal here? And this comes back to one thing that I've said about Blizzard a lot in the last couple of expansions. They need to get off the fucking fence. They need to actually just pick a direction and do it 100%. Don't half-ass these things. And this is kind of half the problem that we've seen with this faction, you know, allowing Horde and Alliance to play with each other. It's a halfway measure. They've kind of, you know, they've done half of it. If they don't follow through and do the rest of it quickly, it's just going to piss people off again. And then nobody wins. All that said, I love you, Blizzard. Please give me an alpha key. my feedback is nothing more than constructive criticism. Since the 50% XP boost, the BFA zones are full of people leveling. I imagine they probably are. I would guess that it's brought a whole chunk of people to the game. It usually does. Hype of a new expansion. Recent sale of the game. The game was like $20 or something. 50%, you know, bonus XP.
Is that your wallet? Or are you just glad to see me?
Hey!
Both, I hope.
Here we go.
Pets, 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 SSSSSSSSSSS.
Cheers, Cal. Thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome in. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for the prime.
That item is still recharging.
Yeah, I imagine the BFA zones are pretty chock-a-block with people leveling right now.
Hey, that's it.
Which is always good. My theory is that somebody was about to lose a bonus payout, so they had to up the active players, hence the bonus XP event. There was a few people that seemed to think that it was kind of like a misclick. That maybe this bonus XP was actually meant for Classic, to allow people to get ready for Wrath of the Lich King Classic. But somebody, you know, pressed the button on the wrong, you know, they pressed it on retail and they're like, oh shit, wrong button. What do we do now? Let's just roll with it. I don't mind.
Hello there.
I'd rather they just made the, I'd rather they just knocked $20 off the boost. I'd buy a few boosts if they knocked $20 off it. But I'm a scumbag like that, so I'll happily pay for the boosts because I pay for them all with gold. Are you an alpha or a beta? I'm not even. I'm not even either. I'm worse than that, Jack. I'm a nobody. I'm an absolute nobody. Welcome in, my man. Good to see you this morning. I'm an absolute scumbag. Be the Omega, maybe. Omega status. Giga Chad mode activated. I would love to be, you know, an alpha. I absolutely goddamn better be a beta. You know? If I don't get the opportunity to be either, I will be mad. I'm already seriously salty that I'm not. I can't hide it anymore. I'm already seriously salty that I'm not in the alpha. I can't hide it. I wouldn't mind as much if there was other people or other significant people within the goal making community that had access to it, so at least we could get like a good reliable stream of information. But unfortunately, with only Samadan being really one of the only big public figures that's had access to it, and he's a self-proclaimed busy man nowadays, he's a family man, he doesn't have as much time for streaming or videos. It's a bit unfair to put all of the weight on his shoulders for, you know. Were any of the screenshots I sent to you useful, or was it old stuff? I'd seen most of that stuff, but it's still very helpful because, like I said, without having access to it myself, I'm doing the same process you guys are doing. I'm jumping between as many different streamers and content creators that do have it to try and, you know, gauge something, you know, just vicariously get some information from somewhere. The salt has been strong since Monday, hasn't really been hiding it. Yeah, I'm not good at hiding emotions like that. If I feel passionate about something, you can bet your ass I'm going to tell you about it. Hey, Matthew's currently working on a gold spreadsheet from Dungeons and Raids, cataloguing the raw gold from every dungeon and raid in the game. Just wondering if you think I'm wasting my time. How do I say this politely? The polite way is yes. The not so, well, raw gold was deliberately nerfed into the absolute ground. Blizzard very deliberately nerfed all of the raw gold from as many sources as they possibly can. It was
Let's
a very calculated decision
together.
for them to do it. Hey, another great use of the Prime Gaming. 4 months. Booker, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, raw gold farming is one of those things that it's a YouTube clickbait thing. I tend to would advise people spend their time doing nearly anything else, because Blizzard has very calculated, very deliberately, you know, crushed raw gold farming into the floor. I mean, if you like I said, I'm going to put it in the same category as transmog farming. If you're doing it for your own enjoyment to maybe complete a collection of transmog or something, and you know you're making some raw gold at the same time, and any spare bits of transmog you throw up on the auction house just to try and, you know, make a little bit of gold from it, then absolutely perfect. You do you. But proactively doing it for the purpose of making gold is a terrible use of time. Literally pick up one profession: herbalism, mining, skinning. Just picking up even one of those and spending the same amount of time as you would raw gold farming on gathering materials that are of value to somebody else will be 10 times more worth your time than trying to farm for raw gold. It's just not a thing. It became really popular at the tail end of BFA because gold making methods were just trashed into the ground because everybody was trying to get 5 million gold for a long boy. So there was really, it was the last possible option for most people.
It's not ready yet.
But because enough people were trying to make gold, it became quite a popular way to do it. Path of least resistance and all that. But in today's age, it's a terrible use of your time. I hope that was constructive and not too harsh.
Pleasure doing business with ya.
Is there anything on the cheap over here? There's always things on the cheap, but more importantly, is there anything on the cheap I want to buy? Not really.
Pleasure was...
Are there any of the vendor shuffles still viable from Shadowlands? Yes, there are. Although your tweet did make me question whether there have been some changes that I'm not aware of. I believe my current version of my vendor shuffle sheet is up to date. If anybody can spot any errors in it, I would be more than happy to find out about them. Because obviously it takes a long time to go through every profession and every craft and check the vendor prices of them. But I believe my vendor prices in all of this are correct. I haven't checked for a little while. This is one of those things that Blizzard does stroll in and they will stealth nerf something. But I believe the values in my sheet for the vendor prices are accurate. To be fair, my sheet is very much not the latest one. Well, to my knowledge, they've not changed the vendor values. They've not changed the vendor values for a long time. We're talking like since the first couple of weeks of Shadowlands. They did change the vendor value of the penumbra thread, but I'm not sure just how old your version of the sheet is.
Got the best deals
I might have to check it. At least make the links hyperlinks. Which links are we talking about? These ones. They are. The links are hyperlinks. I can spreadsheet me, Jack. Don't you worry. I can spreadsheet me. I checked the 9.2.7 PTR and it looks like the composite bow and the shrouded cloth robe is still the same vendor sale price. Looks like thread quantities have doubled over what I have on my sheet compared to yours. Oh. Yeah, you must just have a really old copy then. You must have a really old copy.
Hey, that's it.
Right, let's grab these real quick.
You break it, you buy it.
I've equally not really felt the need to do much PTR stuff recently either, because there's not a lot that can actually be tested. This silly little auction house merger change thing is really quite difficult to test for, because it's an economy thing, and there's no amount of players on the PTR that are going to be there's not enough players on the PTR that are going to be interacting with the auction house for any form of meaningful testing. This is a big concern for me with the with all of these Dragonflight profession changes. There is absolutely no way any of this can be feasibly tested before it goes live, which is a real problem. A real problem. Because there's so many moving components in this new crafting system that if some of it's not carefully considered and balanced, some things could just topple the whole thing over. Like yesterday, we spotted the fact that the gathering professions, mining for example, is going to have the ability to take tier 1 components and turn them into tier 2 quality, and then they're going to be able to take tier 2 quality and turn them into tier 3 quality. That, I was thinking about this a little bit more yesterday, is a terrible decision. Because let's look at how quality works just for 1 minute the other end. When you're crafting things, the quality going between quality 1 and quality 5 on a piece of crafted armor, for example, is not meant to make a huge amount of difference. There's meant to be enough difference for it to be worthwhile crafters doing it, and there's meant to be enough of a difference for you to feel it worthwhile trying to get higher quality stuff. But it's not meant to be so much of a difference that it starts multiplying the cost, or it starts, you know, making everything less than best quality just vendor trash. When you start taking 5 basic materials to make a tier 2 material, and then 5 tier 2 materials to make a tier 3 material, you're basically saying that tier 3 materials have a somewhat fixed price. They are worth 25 times whatever the basic one is. But that's not necessarily true when you look at using better quality components. You are never going to use tier 3 components if a tier 3 component is worth 25 times that of a tier 1 component. You would just use tier 1 components, because the benefit you get from using that higher grade reagent in the first place isn't matched. This is the balance I talk about with professions. This is what worries me, that won't get tested, because it can't get tested without many people engaging with it. Devs have said that Dragonflight's been in development since before Shadowlands. Oh, I can absolutely believe it. Yeah, that's quite a common thing with the Warcraft expansions. They're usually working on, you know, 2 ahead of themselves. Does anybody know if there's an easy way of seeing the recipes I'm missing for my professions? The Unlearned tab. The Unlearned tab, there's a whole tab that shows you exactly which ones you're missing. Oh, we sold a Viperid Menace yesterday. Patreon the only way to get the spreadsheet? No, spreadsheet's free for everybody. Spreadsheet's free for everybody. It's the latest version's always linked in the Discord. Shadowlands cheat sheet, the latest version's there. I am currently, or I say am, I have technically, I have made a smart version of it, which will go to Patreons first, but I can't even release it to Patreons yet because it's using, I've made a smart one. Currently, for example, at the moment, the best way to use the cheat sheet is simple. You go to global materials and you just fill in this list, right? You fill in this list with your realm's prices. Arguably, this will be made a little bit easier when all of these are region-wide prices. So, you know, if you're EU, you'll have all the same prices. Obviously, you can put in whichever, you can change the values as you wish in this. But I have now created a smart version of it. Smart version that uses the TSM API, the new TSM API. They have made a new API. I've been lucky enough to be able to test it. It works quite well. And what this will do is populate this list for you. Obviously, vendor mats are vendor mats. You put in your own vendor prices. As you can see at the moment, this is the blank sheet where there's nothing in it. And obviously then it means all of the rest of the sheet doesn't work because it's not got the prices yet. If you go, now here's to hoping this works. If you click get regions, it should pull in the regions, let the script run, the script is finished. Now we've got the regions. Let's go Europe. Now let's grab the realms, the European realms. Now we can select a realm. Let's just pick Draenor, for example. I'm just checking you guys can see this. Boom. Select your region, select your realm, pull data, and it'll run away. It'll do a thing. Nothing can go wrong in a live demo. Hopefully not. Please work, please work. All of this should start filling with data. Here we go. It's thinking about it. Thinking about it. Boom. Boom. Script is running. I'll let it finish. There we go. Script finished. So now it's pulled in all of the prices for everything. DB min buyout, DB market value. And now my global sheet is fully populated with all of Draenor's prices. All of the different things. And the rest of the sheet just works. Beautiful. You can move the data to a more convenient location. Oh yeah, I know there's a bunch of stuff I can do. This isn't going to be the final version anyway. But this will then give you exact, accurate. If you're on Draenor right now and you want to level up cloth, boom, it just works. And that also is going to be in most places. That will also work in the vendor shuffle sheet, I believe. Yeah, it works for vendor shuffle sheets, so it's going to pull in your soul dust, your sacred shard prices, to give you an indication to whether maybe you can disenchant some stuff. Draenor right now, for anybody that happens to be on Draenor, you have a vendor opportunity on leather arm guards. Desolate leather arm guards are profitable right now for vendor shuffling. You make 2 gold per craft. 2 gold 56 per craft of desolate scale treads. You can see composite bows are still 2 gold 81 profit per craft. And that's about it, vendor shuffles on Draenor. So yeah, the smart version will I obviously have to wait for TSM to make the API public. But once it goes public, I will probably have the, I'm not going to lie, the smart version of the sheet will probably be a Patreon thing. At least initially. But the dumb one, the one where you have to enter everything manually, is free to everybody to use. So, but yeah. Soon, boys and girls, soon. Once TSM are confident that they can publish the API publicly. Did you remove the total materials to level certain professions up to maximum? It used to be where the crafting methods are. Yeah, I did remove them. I did, yeah. I did remove them, yes. I'm not entirely sure why I removed them. I can't remember why I removed them, but I did.
Hello there.
In theory, it would probably be sensible to still have them there somewhere, but it's a little bit too late in the day now. They're easy to add if you want to add them yourselves. How we doing, Koya? Welcome in. Good to see you this morning. I assume it's a REST API? Absolutely no idea. Absolutely no idea. I do not know my ass from my elbow when it comes to the API. I had a significant amount of help from Sapu to get it set up. So there are much smarter people out there than me. There's no documentation for the API on what it can do or anything yet. So this is why it's not publicly available. Because TSM are not really quite finished with it yet. They just wanted to sort of, you know, check it works. Any news on TSM? How it's going to do in Dragon Bribe? I have spoke to the TSM devs Sapu briefly about what their plans are for TSM in Dragonflight. They're obviously keen to make the add-on do as much as they can get the add-on to do. I chipped in and offered a little bit of advice from my perspective. But yeah, we'll see. There's definitely a lot of complications for them to overcome, though. That's for sure. It's because basically Dragonflight looks like it's going to be Shadowlands times 10 in relative complexity. So we'll see. We'll see. What rep is needed for 7.2 gold? Exalted. They almost have to redesign the crafting again. Well, my suggestion to them was simple. You know, the semi-automated nature of TSM currently, where, you know, you populate your groups and you just click restock and it tells you what to craft, and then it guides you through getting the materials you need to do the crafting. That's nice, but it only really works in today's game. Dragonflight is we're unlikely to deal with crafting in the same way, unless their ability to put items in groups and to assign operations to them becomes significantly more sophisticated. And the problem is with that level of sophistication comes huge amounts of complexity to even use the add-on. Look how many people even today, you know, their brain is melted when they get presented with 3 options here on how to put an item in a group. Like even this melts people's brains, understandably so, because it's not super intuitive. But the problem would be in Dragonflight is you'd have to be making group, like, we don't even know how, like, the IDs and the bonus IDs and everything's going to work for all of these 20 different variations of each potion and stuff we'll be making. The physical aspect of making groups and assigning operations to certain items may be a thing of the past. It may not necessarily... I mean, this could be part of the reason to why the professions are being overly complicated, as it makes it 10 times more difficult for an add-on to come along and go, right, boop, there you go. There's the answer. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. They weren't able to take the crafting costs into account for the Silas procs. They're not going to be able to do it for many different types and values of procs with the new systems. Well, the way, like, fundamentally, the way the new crafting system is going to work is going to mean that the way we understand crafting cost today just doesn't apply in Dragonflight. Not anywhere near, because today it's like you take 2 herbs and you buy a vial from a vendor, and that's your crafting cost for a potion. And it's that's the same crafting cost for everybody that makes that potion. But you're going to have a huge variancy in the crafting cost of the same item in Shadowlands. It's not going to be formulaic. It's not going to be X amount of this plus Y amount of this equals Z amounts of potions. It's going to be far more dynamic. And it means that once you've crafted something, TSM is going to have no idea what the accurate crafting cost for that item was after you've already made it. Because let's say, it's really difficult to describe this without having access to alpha. But, for example, let's see if we can use paint to our advantage. In Dragonflight, you're probably going to have, when you first start, you're I don't know, you're an alchemist, right? You're making flasks, you're making potions, right? You're making some healing potions. Oh, I've filled the whole thing in red. Great. You're making some healing potions, right? And you decided that, well, I'm a brand new alchemist, right? Brand new, fresh alchemist. I'm making healing potions. I've just leveled up. You might have crafting costs. The crafting cost for this potion at level 1 could be somewhere in the range of, like, I don't know, let's just say for simplicity purpose it costs you 20 gold to make that as a level 1 alchemist. You could also, as a level 1, say, you could also then make a tier 2 quality, but it's going to probably cost you 30 gold. Or you can make a tier 3 quality, but it could cost you 40 gold. And that's only based on you being a level 1 skill alchemist. By the time you become, by the time you progress up and your alchemy skill 100, you may have a completely different situation. By the time you, as a skill 100 alchemist, you might be able to make tier 3 for the cost of a level 1 alchemist making only a tier 1. And it's the exact same potion you're making with 12 different possible variations of materials and stuff. It's going to be nearly impossible for an add-on to, like... In fact, it's not even nearly impossible. It will be impossible for TSM to know accurately how much it cost you to craft an item, because there's way too many variables in it. And the range of crafting prices could be monstrously different. So, this is what I've said. I said this to the TSM guys. Like, spreadsheets are going to be BIS. Spreadsheets will be absolutely BIS. Because what you'll be doing is you'll be putting in your own personal, you know, you'll be tracking things more granularly. You won't be selecting an entire profession and just clicking restock and making 25 different items and putting them on the auction house. That's unlikely the way that you're going to approach professions. Because there's going to be some decisions to be made. Like, do I use my higher quality components on this craft to maximize the gold I can make on that craft? I can maybe only make 10 flasks in a week. Do I choose to make those flasks as higher quality as possible so that they can be sold for the most price? Or do I try and make as many flasks as I can? Do I use cheaper materials, make lower quality flasks, but stack multi-craft so that there's a good chance that instead of making 10 flasks, I can make 12 or 14? Which one of those options is going to make me more gold? There's a lot more to think about. And the more you have to think about something, the less helpful an add-on is to just come along and tell you an answer. Because the answer could be over here, or it could be over here. Like, it doesn't, like, you've got to actually make a, you know, a human decision. Want to buy an in-game TSM Sheets add-on? Well, this is where I think if TSM can get their API up and running, the data that TSM tracks, I feel, is the most useful thing that we'll have. TSM tracking the value of each of the different qualities of materials, TSM being able to pull in the pricing data for each of the resulting, you know, crafts. One healing potion, you know, A basic dragon healing potion in Dragonflight could quite possibly have like 6 different variations. You could have 3 different qualities of the potions, and you know, you could have a tier 1 quality, a tier 2 quality, a tier 3 quality potion. But then there's also going to be, you know, optional reagents are going to be everywhere, right? Optional reagents are being thrown in everywhere. You might be able to use a finishing reagent when making potions that will increase their duration. So instead of having one that heals you for 50k over 10 seconds, you'll have one that heals you for 50k over 5 seconds. So it's still technically still a basic dragon healing potion, but you're going to have 6, 10 different variations of them. Which, yeah, you're not going to probably pinpoint which ones you want to be crafting and stuff. The whole crafting system is light years different to what we have today. Yeah. So I don't know how add-ons are going to really be of any benefit to this, because it's going to force people who are looking to make as much gold as they can with the professions. It's going to force them to think about things, work out the different options, and decide which one is better for them to do. And that's not something that's easy for an add-on to just come along and say, right, oh, because the way TSM works now is kind of more about, right, I know I want to just have 20 potions on the auction house at all times. So I can put potions in a group and I can say, TSM, make sure I've always got 20 potions. That's not the mindset that we're going to have, I don't feel, in Dragonflight. We're going to be looking at making less things, but trying to maximize the profit we can make on those things. We know that we've only got enough resources to make 10 flasks, so I have to decide, do I want to make lower tier flasks and more of them, or do I want to spend my resources making the best quality flasks I can in the hope that they sell for more? You have to balance these things, and when there's a decision to be made, a choice to be made, add-ons are not very good at making that choice for you. But there was my exploration into paint today. Do you think the game will track how it was crafted by bonus IDs? I very much doubt it. I very much doubt it. And even if they do, let's just go hypothetically, even if they do, that still doesn't take into account, that's never going to be able to take into account things like inspiration. Did you craft that quality 2 potion because you became inspired and it was a proc? This is the thing, right? It's not so black and white that you took 10 herbs and you made 5 potions. That's not going to be the equation every time. You may take 10 herbs and multi-craft may kick in and you may make 6 potions instead of 5. You may get an inspiration proc and you might have, like, you might all of a sudden proc a much higher quality potion randomly, occasionally. There's way more variables in it. The only way would be as if Blizzard, an official Blizzard API had a crafting event that sent each time you craft something. Maybe. 2 years ago they talked about putting in a 3-day DB market value. Market values are also going to be a little bit more tricky. There's lots of things to think about. The way that we understand goal making with professions today is going to be completely different in Dragonflight. We're going to have to retrain our brain because the way that we do things now may not necessarily work the same way at all. And this is why I suggested to the TSM guys that they should lean into the data that they have. The data that they track, the market values for all of these different items, the variancy in the crafting prices and stuff is where they have an advantage. And that's their huge advantage. The semi-automated way of just keeping a certain inventory of items is unlikely to be the way that we're going to play with professions going forward. Nobody's going to know what they paid to craft something. I think that's deliberate though, Koya. I genuinely think that's deliberate. If they can blur the lines a little bit of how much things are costing to craft, then it makes for a more volatile market. Today, everybody knows that if you take 2 herbs and 1 vial, you get a potion. The only way to, you know, set yourself apart is to buy those 2 herbs for less than the next guy. Which means that things crash to a very fixed price very quickly. You know, everybody knows that, you know, if you take 2 Progenitor Essentia, slap on a few components, you get a rank, you get a rank 7 legendary. Meaning that everybody roughly knows very quickly that it might cost you 20k to make a rank 7, but it's also going to cost him 20k to make a rank 7 as well. And then everybody's just cancel scanning at 21,000 gold. It's, you know, I think that's exactly the scenario that Blizzard are trying to get away from. But we'll see. I think it's going to be fun. I genuinely can't wait. Genuinely can't wait. How we doing, Woo? Welcome in. Good morning to you. What is this? Have I missed something? Saw your comment on CurseForge battle pet cage thing. Did you find a fix for the building cage list error? Oh, I see. Yeah, a few people seem to be having problems with the add-on, and I struggle to be able to help because I don't seem to have the same error. I mean, I press the button and it works. I don't know if it's that people are trying to do, you know, overly complex things with it. I have mine set up in a very basic fashion. If pet is worth more than 500 gold, take it out. If it's not, ignore it. Like, I'm not going by like
Hey, can I interest you in
price sources from other add-ons or anything like that.
Hello there.
Who be this? Rasmus, welcome in. How we doing? Good morning, good morning. Maybe the error is barrier to entry. Maybe I have fixed it. I just don't want to tell you. No, I haven't. I genuinely no idea. But I open mine. I press the button. It gives me a list of things. I click start caging. It cages them, and then it says finished. It says all pets caged, and we move on. I don't know what to say. It's difficult to diagnose a problem when I don't know where the problem is. I added a new realm last night and it didn't work on that realm. I had to add that realm to my TSM list of realms for it to even work, even though I don't use local prices. Oh, that's odd. The fact that it pulls data from TSM is likely to be the problem. The reason it probably doesn't work is because it tries to get some information from TSM and doesn't get it or can't get it or something. I would guess. You have to run to the auction house, we'll call it even. Oh, burn. It's already hot enough in here for these burns. Need some sun cream for those burns. You didn't add the other realms to your TSM. I have got the realms added to TSM. But my point still stands. I'm not using a TSM price source for it, so I don't understand why that would be the reason. But you know, stranger things have happened. My TSM does pull data for all of the realms that I'm flipping pets on, though. So.
Yeah? What do you want?
Which is probably bloating my TSM add-on to no end, but.
Glad I could help.
Not seeing many sales this morning, you know. I did do a I did go through my realms before I went to bed last night, though. So there's only been nighttime hours, which could be why I'm not seeing many sales this morning. But
Deal for you. I got a new shipment coming in soon.
not seeing enough mail icons on these. God damn you! Start buying pets, people, for the love of God. You're making me look stupid. What's this Reddit thread? Your launcher updates automatically if you get it. Hang on, what's this? Is this how we get... Your launcher updates automatically if you get access to the alpha. Here's what it looks like. Dragonland alpha. Yeah. Photoshop on point. My poor alpha. My poor launcher doesn't say alpha. Shocking. One day.
Cha-ching!
Has Preach been given the alpha now? Or is it still a running meme that he doesn't have it? I saw he was Preach was streaming yesterday after he stopped pissing about with cats. He was he was tagged in the World of Warcraft channel. Was he playing WoW again? He has it now. He did. There's a clip. Oh, great. Oh, see, there we go. Apparently, you just got to make a big stink about it. Apparently, you just got to make a big stink about it online, and it magically happens. I'm not big enough to make a big stink, though. I could make a stink. It just wouldn't be very big. How's selling pets working so far? We're getting there. I did a little bit of maths yesterday, actually, tracking just because I know roughly how much I've spent on pets, and I wanted to see, well, what's my auction house value then based on that. And I worked it out to be, where's my, I've got a little spreadsheet that I use. There's information on it that I can't display on stream, unfortunately, at the moment, but the I've spent a little over 5 million gold on pets. And I tracked my auction house value across all my realms, and it's a little under 7 million gold in auction house value. So, and that's me undercutting. So we're making about small jumps. We're making, I would guesstimate about 20% profit on every flip. We just need to sell more. That's kind of the trick here. We just need to sell more. Weirdly, this becomes the way. I've had this thought for a while, but it's a difficult one to. It's a difficult one to sort of comprehend. But there comes a point in World of Warcraft when the best way to make gold is to spend gold as fast as you can. The faster you can spend it, the sooner you'll make it back. Is kind of the approach. Once you've worked out a system, and you know that you can buy and sell these items, it usually becomes a case of, well, how quickly can you spend your gold? And the quicker you can spend it, the sooner you give yourself the chance of selling that thing back and making a profit on it. This is kind of how crafting works at the start of a patch, right? The more you can pre-invest into a market before that market comes to light, the more you can squeeze out of it. Progenitor Essentia was the biggest example of this I can think of. Those people that were willing to buy Progenitor Essentia for like 5, 10, 15, 20,000 gold a piece, before you could physically do anything with it, there was, you know, you got to remember that this was all speculative. There was not a single pattern in the game that you could use Progenitor Essentia with yet. You knew it was coming. And so the more you were able to spend on Progenitor Essentia initially, if you trusted that you were going to be able to do enough with it. I spent about 20 million gold and I turned it into about 60. There were other people out there that spent, you know, 50 million gold on it and turned it into 150. So you know, it becomes quite quickly about, well, just how quickly can you spend your gold? How quickly can you reinvest it into other stuff?
I got what you need.
Which is in a way kind of the approach I'm taking to pets. I'm just trying to spend a lot of gold very quickly. The quicker I can spend the gold on buying things that I think I can turn around for more, even if it takes me 3 months, 6 months, 9 months to resell it, the quicker I can buy it, the quicker I can resell it. That's kind of the trick. Just mail Blizzard, tell them you're a content creator in goal making, give them some links of your stuff, ask for the alpha. What do you have to lose, right? Well, yeah, I suppose. Take the direct approach. Where did Bunny Shaker end up? Bunny Shaker didn't get very far. We didn't get very far with Final Fantasy. I went with the approach with Final Fantasy that I wanted to do the main story quests on stream. But that also kind of meant that I didn't really play Final Fantasy much off stream. And I kind of lost the passion for it very quickly, unfortunately. It's a game I might pick up again and dedicate some time to, but I went into Final Fantasy quite skeptical. Skeptical in terms of the fact that I knew full well that I really, really, really did not need a second MMO in my life, and was very cautious about letting it, you know, take over.
This stuff sells itself.
We'll make an appearance in the Final Fantasy world again at some point. I mean, if they don't know you, they don't know, right? I guess that's sensible.
I can't use that item yet. That item is still recharging.
All chances you don't take, you automatically fail. As far as I'm aware, I am on the list, though. To my knowledge, I am on the list. I do know some people. The problem is I don't know just, you know, quite how high up on that list I am. Obviously not super high. It's kind of why I think Dragonflight is going to be hard if you can't, quote unquote, full-time a profession because of being a PvE player. I think you'll probably find that professions are going to be quite aggressively time-gated. I can definitely say for a fact that I'm not best pleased about that, but I'm quite aware that the professions are going to be quite heavily time-gated. Your ability to specialize is what they're going to slow you down on. You're also going to be slowed down by the fact that there's going to be, against many people's best interests, there's going to be soul-bound limited quantity materials. Ultimately meaning that you're more likely, if you enjoy gold making, quote unquote, full time, you're actually more likely to just want to try and level up many professions, rather, because there just won't be, you won't be able to get past a certain point, you know. It won't necessarily be a case of you spend more time on one profession and you'll get better at that one profession. It will be time gated by the way things are looking. Although it does appear that like some of the profession knowledge you need might come from things like world quests. So there might be some basic stuff to do, but I don't think that there should be any worries about professions getting in the way of your raid schedule. I don't think there's too much of an issue with that. Happy for Samadan getting into the alpha, but don't get me wrong, his real life schedule and occasional vids. Shame you as a full-time streamer who can deep dive the shit out of it. Yeah. Well, Samadan's, you know, he's old school now, right? He's been doing this for a long time. He's actually worked with Blizzard directly previously. So it was of no surprise whatsoever that he had the alpha. And I'm glad he did. I'm glad he did, because he's got, you know, we share similar viewpoints on the way that the professions work and stuff, so. Samadan got in because of Wowhead. Had it not been for the weekly post, he probably wouldn't, I reckon. But no, Samadan's directly worked with Blizzard previously, so he has. He's quite well known by a lot of the devs and stuff there as a community figure. I'm still very aware that realistically, I've only really started focusing on World of Warcraft from a content creation point of view since since Shadowlands. So I'm still, you know, in Blizzard's eyes, you know, the new kid on the block. It feels like I've been doing it forever, because technically I started making videos and content for World of Warcraft like back in Cataclysm. But when you take a 5-year break, then you tend to drop off. Even Stay Safe, a solely classic player who regularly shits on retails, got in, makes little sense to me. Seems mainly based upon how high your profile as a streamer is. It's for the longest of time I've had this opinion, and I've shared this quite publicly, that I tend to think that the alpha and the betas are just marketing tools. And from that perspective, yes, it makes sense that somebody that streams to like 2,000-3,000 people concurrently is a much better person to give the alpha to, even if it's, you know, not necessarily their jam. But Samadan's quite famous in his own way. He certainly is, yeah. You were very unknown. I got to know you through Samadan. Yeah, lots of people did. I can't argue that it was
Got the best deals anywhere.
a lot of people found me through Samadan. I was quite fortunate that he featured me quite heavily in the Shadowlands Alpha. No, Shadowlands Beta. He featured some of the little mini videos I did quite heavily in the Wowhead articles, which definitely helped, you know, kickstart things. But yeah, like I said, I'm not oblivious to the fact that I'm quite clearly the new kid on the block on this, really. So is why I'm salty as all hell that there are some people out there that don't even play World of Warcraft that have the alpha, but I understand why. Alpha is for marketing, not testing. I find it very hard to disagree with that thought, yeah. In my region, 2 streamers got in on the first day. One hadn't played WoW for a year. The other only talks bad about Blizzard. Yesterday on the second wave, there was like 15 small 5-viewer streamers with the alpha. The way that it tends to work is the reason you start to see a lot of smaller streamers pop up with the alpha is because they're friends with somebody bigger. Where if you get invited to an alpha or a beta by the developer themselves, the way that it usually plays out is that they'll ask you if you want to join, if you want to be part of it, and then they ask you who do you want to bring along with you, because they understand that most gamers play games with their friends and stuff. You're going to far more likely, if they give some smaller streamer, few hundred viewers, couple of thousand viewers, if they give a small streamer access to an alpha, that streamer will then be able to bring 5-10 people along with them as well. Now those 5-10 people could be guildmates, they could be real life friends, anything along those lines. So this is why you start seeing these, these random streamers that you've never really seen before popping up with it, because they get access to the alpha through, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that tends to be the way that it sort of works. Oh my god, I've hit a cancel scan throttle. This is terrible. That's not something I've seen for a while. Especially when some people have made a large song and dance about not playing anymore. If I were the devs, I wouldn't be so forgiving. Well, this was the Preach situation, wasn't it? Let's be honest. That was the Preach situation. He didn't get in on the first wave because, he's quite clearly annoyed somebody at Blizzard with his approach to just saying, right, well, we're not going to cover it because X, Y, and Z. So what you're saying is Sam didn't bring you along for the ride? Rude. Well, Samadan was probably just on the list of people they were going to invite anyway. It's not, like I said, there's a distinct difference between getting a key and being invited. If you are a content creator or a streamer who is like actually summoned, you're invited to it, then you often have the ability to bring people with you. But if you're just on a long list of content creators that are known to play the game and they just activate it on your Battle.net, that's a different story. Do I think TSM will be able to handle the new profession system? I'm skeptical. I've spoke to some of the guys at TSM. They are obviously confident that they can work with it. Let's see. Let's see. I mean, if they can pull something out the bag, I'll be more than impressed, because there's going to be a lot of there's a lot more to it. Let's put it that way. Weirdly, it's going to be so complex for some people that an add-on helping out could be even more effective than what TSM is today. But on the flip side, as we discussed earlier, there's a lot of variables within the new Dragonflight crafting system, which kind of means that there's not just one mathematical best answer. You might kind of, human choice is going to have to come into play a little bit more, which doesn't lend itself to sort of the way TSM is kind of, by nature you try to program TSM or create TSM in a fashion that it's going to apply a bunch of rules to a bunch of items. Unfortunately, you're going to deal with things a little bit more granular, I feel, in Dragonflight. You're not just going to have a list of items that you want to make sure always on the auction house and then move on to the next thing. It's not going to be quite as straightforward as that. Somebody must be watching your stream. I've sold 6 pets instantly as I reposted them. Maybe. It might have been me. I don't think I've bought many pets today, though. I'm still desperately trying to relist them all. I've got a couple of realms I still need to finish, and then we'll... Towley has posted a video showcasing some of the new profession specializations, and I'm hoping that it's a reasonable display of what's going on, and we might be able to take a little bit of a look through that. How many realms have we still got? We've got... we are still... We've got one more German realm. We might just do this last German realm then. The French and the Spanish realms I almost don't care about at the moment. They're performing really badly for selling pets. Sol did a deep dive into professions too. Didn't watch it yet though. He was recording that on stream yesterday. I was watching him record that live. So I've seen a little bit of that. Towley did go through a bunch of stuff. Unfortunately, he doesn't really have the goblineering knowledge. No, but just purely showcasing it, if nothing else. Seeing it and, seeing how it all interacts is... We can analyse the crap out of it. We'll get there. We'll get there. We will work it out. We will find the answers. Invest fund. This guy's everywhere. I am starting to spot the names now. I'm starting to spot the people that are doing this at scale across many realms. On the French servers, some of the guys are really aggressive on the pets. I mean, that could be it. It could be it that I'm just, if there's people out there that are really going ham, keeping their auctions front of the queue sort of thing, I might not even be getting a look in. I wondered yesterday if the French realms for me were underperforming just because I didn't have enough pets on them. And that was partly the case, but not the full story, I don't think. Right, let's get these last few listed. soon as I get a little bit of starting capital on these realms anyway, we can up our game and stop trying to piss about with flipping 400 gold brown snakes. That's not really where we're going to make the millions from. Alright, there we go.
Hey, that's it. I got.
I'll come back and I'll check the French realms in a. Let me just quickly take a look to see if we'd sold anything on any of them. It doesn't even look like we've sold anything on him. Dalaran. Oh, there's a mail icon there. We've sold something on Dalaran. Kirin Tor. We've sold something on Kirin Tor as well. Haven't sold anything on Hyjal. Spanish realm. We're only on one Spanish realm at the moment. Nothing going on over there. That's fine. Okay. Hyjal tends to perform terribly for me. The rest are okay-ish. Yeah, I've not had great success with the French realm so far, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Right. So let's there's a little Towley video that I wanted to take a look through. Professions are back. Specialization talent trees in Dragonflight. Let's give this a little bit of a watch and let's see what Towley's got to another 5-hour react. Well, this is only an 8-minute video. It's only an 8-minute video. It's going to be really difficult for me to stretch this out to 5 hours. I mean, I'll try, but we'll see. Let me throw the video link in chat for you. Make sure you go give the video a thumbs up, if nothing else. Shout out Towley for putting this together. The Soul video is an hour 20 something. Yeah, if I try and watch an hour 20-minute long video on stream, I can almost guarantee that it will take me 3 days. Because I am a bit of a pause Andy when it comes to this. Before I start this, I'm out of coffee, which is not good for anybody. I'm going to quickly go grab a drink. I'm going to try and remember to hit that add button. Because I'm terrible at hitting the add button. If you don't want to see ads, you know what to do.
Hello there.
Redeem, play an ad. I will try and remember. I'll try and remember. Right, I'll be back with you in 2 minutes, boys and girls. Occupy yourselves. Alrighty. Okie dokie, okie dokie. NFT ads? Oh dear. Oh dear. That's not what you want. That's
Hello
not
there.
what you want. Oh, nice cold glass of Coca-Cola. Right then, Towley. Spread the love. Show us what's going on with these talent trees then. Whoa! Whoa! Loud intro.
Hammers up, everyone.
Okay,
Towley
now it's really
here.
quiet.
Dragonflight Alpha is underway. Everyone's spamming their F5s on their B-net, restarting B-net over and over again, trying to see if they get flagged. I hope you do. I hope we see tons of Hammer Squad members marching into the Alpha so we can make our guild and start doing dungeons and heroics and mythics and raid
His
testing
character
together.
name's Emo.
Aside from all that, profession, specializations is what we're talking about today. Now, I'm excited for professions in general. I've seen the 2 blue posts that Blizzard have made, and it's been really good. It's like, okay, this is great. This is
Juicy.
a great system that's not going to be dominated by the WoW token, and it's going to work. And then they mentioned something about, oh, you know, there's like some talent tree stuff with each, crafting profession where you get to spec into certain stuff. And
Whoa,
I'm like,
whoa,
oh,
whoa, whoa, whoa. Why is Nomi on fire? Fire Lord Nomi. He's literally cooking. I hadn't spotted this. Dude's actually on fire. He's got Ragnaros' hammer.
okay, whatever. You know, it's like a talent tree, right? It's like, oh, it's like a little talent tree. Nothing like this, right? This is like insane. You know, 61 talent points now, up from 21. What could they possibly do with professions? So then, here we go. Specializations. Now, this is blacksmithing and alchemy are only testable right now in the alpha, but check this out, Hammer Squad. Yeah.
Boom. Okay. Okay, so this is blacksmithing. Blacksmithing has 4 specializations by the looks of things. Armor smithing, weapon smithing, speciality smithing, and anvil mastery. He's got 90 points on the go currently. There's some weird cogwheel thing, which I presume... On unlocking this specialization, learn to use optional reagents to upgrade item level on most armor plans. Okay. Oh my, his voice is soothing. I think I'll switch streamers soon. Towley's been in the game forever. So armor smithing, specialize in crafting plate armor, increasing your ability to craft at a higher quality. In addition, learn new plans and ways to customize the armor you craft. So you unlock it to begin with, and then you can dive off in different directions, I guess.
Yeah.
Hang on. I've still got tunes playing on the background. I'll turn those off. Whoa. Whoa. Click happy. Chill out.
Here
with
we
the
go.
clicking.
Specializations. Now, this is blacksmithing and alchemy are only testable right now in the alpha, but check this out, Hammer Squad. Yeah. Yeah. For the love of God, why do people who make these videos have to fire through them so fast? Anvil Mastery. Specialize in the art of blacksmithing, bolstering your ability to use limited resources economically, as well as greatly improve the quality of your crafts. So this appears to be very simplistic, very basic. You're going to... I would imagine this is more, you know, if you, whatever your Shadowghast ingots are, meaning that you can spec into just making Shadowghast ingots or dragon tail ingots or whatever the hell. Towley at 0.5% will break my speakers from the vibrator. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Glad you're not a CSGO streamer. Spacebar reflexes are like 3 seconds. I didn't even have... Look. Chill. Damn. Yeah, I know.
Right. Speciality smithing. Specialize in making Is that non-material goods? I can't even read it. It's too small. Such as tools and alloys. So if you want to be really good at making everybody else's profession... weapons, you can spec in here. Specialize in crafting weapons and some tools, increasing your ability to craft at higher quality.
In addition, learn new plans and ways to customize the weapons that you craft. Okay. See, this all sorts of makes sense. I was expecting, kind of like Towley stated at the beginning, I was expecting like one big talent tree, and you spend your points and you go whichever direction. But this appears to be that the way that they want you to do it is probably to start off putting a few points in all of them to unlock the core features of the profession. Because you can see here, like, this is giving you plus inspiration. One of the other ones was unlocking the option to use optional reagents. So you're probably going to put a couple of points in each of them to start with, just to unlock things. And then you might spend the rest of your points, you know, going off in one direction or another.
I know. Y'all nutted too. I nutted when I first saw this as well. I was like, oh, God. Literally, I was blown away. So basically, you get to pick your specialization within blacksmithing, right? So you could pick either armor smithing, you could be a weaponsmith, you could specialty smith, which concentrates on the like alloys that you need to craft gear. There's anvil mastery, which bolsters the ability to use your limited resource economically, as well as greatly improving the quality of all your crafts. This all basically helps out improving the quality of the gear that you craft.
Is this like a cogwheel then? Do you start off at the bottom and does it like level up?
And so many other things. Now, one thing that I did notice is that you can actually specialize in all of this. Whereas in vanilla, you can only do like potions or flasks or elixirs or whatever it was, or you were either an armor smith or a weaponsmith. It does seem like you could do everything, but I feel like the sheer amount of points needed to fill out the entire tree is a lot. I think it's somewhere around, what was the number we had in chat? Like 850 plus blacksmithing knowledge points.
850 plus points to max everything. How much do you think they're going to restrict our ability to get these talent points then? I've already seen a screenshot where it was like a tooltip or something that sort of indicates that some of these might be obtainable through world quests. You may need to somewhat actively play those characters if you really want to min-max 10 a week. Let's hope a little bit more than that. But there might be some in-game activities, hopefully nothing more strenuous than world quests, that you can do on your crafters to gain more of these.
And it is called blacksmithing knowledge, which kind of reminds me of Legion's artifact knowledge. It actually kind of looks like it too. Like, you remember how they had the picture of when you open up your Legion artifact UI, you had the weapon in the background, then you had the nodes, and you needed your artifact knowledge to, like, upgrade your weapon to allow for more points. It's kind of like similar in that sense. So I went with weaponsmithing. Now it's kind of cool because you can specialize in whatever weapon you want. Let's say you're on Illidan, which is our server, NA. And let's say you know for a fact that most Death Knights, Rep Paladins, and Warriors are fancying for this expansion two-handed swords. So you can go ahead and start specializing in weaponsmithing.
Okay, tooltip time. Improve at making weapons and large tools. Gaining +1 crafting skill per point in this specialization. So there's 30 ranks, meaning right from the word go, there's the option for +30 crafting skill. We already know that crafting skill, your crafting skill, there's going to be a recipe difficulty, and your goal is to get your crafting skill to match that recipe's difficulty. If you can match the recipe's difficulty, you'll make the top quality, whether it be a quality 3 potion or a quality 5 piece of armor. But this is going to give you +1 crafting skill points when making weapons and large tools. So your points are not, universally applied. If you go into weaponsmithing, you can get some bonus crafting skill, but only when creating certain items. Then there seems to be some threshold bonuses. If you get 15 points in here, gain +5 resourcefulness when making weapons and large tools. Resourcefulness, we already know, is going to sort of it's going to help reduce the amount of materials that are needed to make the item. It's a proc-based thing by the way it looks. It creates more resourcefulness, gives you a percentage chance to be resourceful. It may be that if you know, much like the, what was it, inspiration, when you become inspired, it guarantees the next quality of craft. If you have a resourcefulness percentage, if you proc resourcefulness, maybe it, you know, halves the amount of materials needed or something, but it's only going to happen, you know, infrequently. We'll see how that plays out, how it all balances out eventually. Isn't Hickons' main on Illidan? Illidan's one of the really big servers. Illidan, Tichondrius, Area 52, places like that are the big realms over in NA land. So it's no surprise, really.
Start putting points in there. Once you hit 10 points in weaponsmithing, now you can go into blades, right?
Oh, okay. So you can then split off, improve at making various bladed weapons and tools, gaining +1 crafting skill point in this specialization. And same again, you got bonuses at different ranks. At rank 5, once you put 5 points into this, I guess that's what this cogwheel is then, right? This is the blades. This is the talent node. You've got 30 points that you can put into it. Maybe this is like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 would complete the wheel. And it gives you an indication to what you'll get for reaching the next like milestone point. So I mean, in theory, you could dump a bunch of points in this, a bunch of points in the beginning. Question is how much time will it take to get this 30 points? This is one thing we're probably not going to know in great detail, probably until the game goes live. Because yes, it is a big question. Where are these points going to come from, and how many of them do we get?
Improve at making various bladed weapons and tools, gaining +1 crafting skill per point in this specialization. Next major bonus at rank 5. So when you start putting in your points, you'll see it'll also start filling out over here. Basically, when it says next major over here is this little...
Ah, right. So yeah, we did get that right. This little cogwheel thing is more like if you fill it, you know, you've got 30 points that can go in here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and you're off to the races.
Square here. Now, once again, this whole UI is a work in progress, right? It says work in progress UI art. So it's probably going to look way better than this. So once I put the 5 points in here, boom, now you've unlocked 10 inspiration.
Cool.
10 inspiration when making long and short blades. All right, and then you can just, you know, right now we obviously have infinite amount of points we can put on the alpha for testing purposes. But right now you can just go ahead and start specializing in blades. So once you have
and then long blades,
an entire node filled out, rank 30 of 30, you can go ahead and learn another sub.
That's an interesting one, that it appears that you're going to have to fully max out blades before you can specialize yet even further. I was kind of thinking it may be like, you know, you get 15 out of 30 points, then it unlocks the sub specializations. But the fact that you have to bang all 30 in there to unlock the sub ones means that this is probably part of the time gating, right? This is probably making it so that you really do have to choose where you spend your points quite carefully at the beginning of the expansion. Because you're going to have to you can't just say maybe put some points over here and be pretty good at that, some points over here, be pretty good at that. You are likely to start off needing to put all your points, you know, making that meaningful decision. Am I going to specialize in this direction or not? If the points end up being too limited, it will all be about dumping all into a single path, crafting a bunch, then resetting and crafting a different path, etc., just to diversify the stock of crafts. That's a very current day mindset of how it could work. I really don't think that that will be the case in Dragonflight, though, for 2 reasons. One, we already know that soulbound limited quantity materials are a thing. There's this, right? Where is it? Is this from yet? There's this, an artisan's metal. This is a component that is soulbound, is originally being advertised for the purpose of recrafting, but we've seen this being used as a resource alongside many of the crafts, meaning that you might only have a limited quantity of materials, and you're going to need to choose where you spend these. And we already saw with alchemy, you may have to choose between actually crafting things or improving your profession. These were one of the key components for the daily research. So if you want to, you know, learn more recipes, you might have to weigh that up against, well, do I want to craft something to sell it to make some gold, or do I want to use my artisan's metal to do a daily research to maybe learn something new that could be better to sell? These are the decisions that people are going to have to balance out and play with. So that thought process of, you know, let's just bang all of my points into one thing, craft 50 of a thing, isn't really viable because you're going to be limited on the materials. And we don't even know how easy it will be to reset these once you've... I would imagine, even if you can reset your knowledge points, it will come at some sort of cost. Or you may only be able to do it once a week or something. Otherwise, it nullifies the whole system. If you can just bang a bunch of points in, make a bunch of things, reset, do it again, you just nullify the whole system from word go, which I think Blizzard are smart enough to not let us do. Delayed gratification will be my route. Build that efficiency as early as possible. Yeah, it's hard to decide which way because, yeah, do you go for the short-term win? Do you go for the short-term, right, bang out a bunch of items that are super valuable now because nobody knows how much things cost and there's mad money to be made? Or do you go the long game? Do you push for efficiency and make it so that you can just, you know, get to the end game stuff quicker than the next person who took the, you know, the quick win?
Specialization.
Profession energy. Oh,
this
God.
is a short.
We're gonna get eight little gems down the bottom here, and every time you press a button, a gem disappears, and the gems come back every couple of days. Oh no.
Bladed weapons. With daggers and weapons. It says making short-bladed weapons and tools, including knives, daggers, and fist weapons. Down here, it says sword, glaives, and sickles. And if let's say you want to go hammers, you go maces and hammers over here, man. You go axes, picks, and pole arms, and armor smithing. It's actually pretty crazy. You have your.
So armor smithing by default. On unlocking this specialization, learn to use optional reagents to upgrade the item level on most pieces of armor. Requires level 50 of Dragon Isles blacksmithing to unlock an additional specialization. I saw this. I saw people talking about this. You are going to need to skill up your profession to certain thresholds before you unlock the specializations. I tried asking in Soul's stream yesterday about this, and he didn't provide the most constructive answer. But it looks like you're going to need to get 25 skill points in your profession to even unlock a single specialization. Then it appears if you want to go into additional specializations, you're going to have leveled up your profession further and further. So Towley spec'd into weaponsmithing, and it's now telling him he needs 50 points in blacksmithing to unlock another one. Presumably, it might then be 75 points for the third one. It might be 100 points to unlock all of them or something. You might have to have, you know. But the key takeaway from this is that you might have to choose. If you know that you may only in the first couple of weeks be able to get like 50 points in blacksmithing halfway through leveling it up, you may know that you can only unlock one, maybe two specializations. If the keystone feature of unlocking the specialization is big things like this, like determining whether you can physically use optional reagents when crafting or not, that could play a big part. If, you know, weaponsmithing unlocks the finishing reagents, armor smithing unlocks optional reagents, unlocking something else gives you the ability to, maybe you're restricted from using tier 3 materials until you've unlocked a specialization. You may have to kind of like selectively choose once again. All this choice is cool. It makes the professions feel interesting. The concern for me though is how long will it last? How can they build upon this? How can they make this, you know, an at the very least an expansion-wide experience? We'll have to see.
Max armor smithing, and then once you put 10 points in armor smithing, now you can start going for plate armor. For this, like, this is chest, legs, and shields. Over here you got your helms, your pauldrons, and your sabatons.
So you really are niching down very aggressively here. You're going to have to pick a direction, and then you can pick to go even further. So like today, for example, let's not forget, in Shadowlands, one of the biggest questions for anybody trying to get into the legendary market was which one should I've only got the gold to rank up one of them, which one should I do? And every patch the answer's been a little bit different, but you know, maybe, you know, capes abyss. Everybody wants the cape, and so you're gonna spec into the cape. You run the risk there. If you spec into the cape, has everybody else already specced into the cape? Would it be better to go for something that's not the cape, just because you may end up being one of the only people on your realm that has, you know, gone that route? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sub-specializations here that are going to require, presumably, quite a lot of time and effort to fully get access to. You may have to pick one to start with and then work on others as time goes on, as you go and gain more blacksmithing knowledge. And this is just for what? This is just for armor smithing. If you want to be the best person making two-handed maces, you're going to have to choose to put your points there instead of somewhere else. It's going to be quite cool. Could be quite cool.
You got your gauntlets, your vambraces, and your belts. So you can kind of go in each route. Now, you have to be careful, right? Because whatever you specialize in is what you're going to, you know, craft the best of, which is going to be very appealing when you're filling out work orders. But yeah, I think this entire system is pretty awesome. One thing I wish they would do, and I know a lot of people don't like to be restricted, people hate to be gated. I really do wish that you can only pick one of these two, right? Either weaponsmithing or armor smithing. That way it does feel a little bit more unique, because you're already going to feel unique. Because some of the patterns out there for, like, let's say crafting heroic and mythic raiding gear are pretty rare. Right?
This already makes it feel like you may possibly want to run a few alts. Although it seems to be complicated enough that you may not, even by running a couple of alts, be able to do everything. Not short term anyway. There seems to be enough, you seem to be able to nestle down deep enough that you could maybe have one character that's a blacksmith that goes weaponsmithing and specializes in one direction, and you may have an alt that also has blacksmithing, but they take armor smithing to go in another direction. But then you're trying to farm up blacksmithing knowledge on two characters, so what's the time implications? What's the effort that's going to be needed to do that? Is it going to, you know, pay off? Is the reward going to be big enough? And of course, when you look at having all of the professions, there's no way at the, you know, the very start of a. Actually, one thing I've not considered is how quickly do we even get to start leveling all of this stuff up? Is there going to be any requirement that we're going to need to be like level 70 before this all kicks in? They could make it so the specializations, for example, I'm almost scared of saying this because I don't think it's a great idea, but to extend the length of the system and to reduce the degenerate goblin gameplay, they could make it so that specializations, even if you have enough skill points in the profession, aren't accessible until you are level 70. You know, if you're not max level, then you don't have access to the specializations. You can level your profession, sure, but you're maybe not going to get access to the juice, to the optimization side of it until you're level 70. That is a thing I can see them doing. Want to buy account-wide reagent bank? Oh, you and me both. Absolutely. It's what they did with Lego crafting. Yeah, exactly. You could level your profession all the way. You could be a max level leatherworker at level 48, but you weren't able to pick up the legendary patterns until you were level 60. So.
Right, the materials needed to make that gear comes from that high-end content. But yeah, this whole specialization is nuts. Like, I love it.
Subspec. Are you sure you would like to learn Longblade subspecialization? Doing so will save all pending changes. Now, there is a reset button here. There's a reset button here. Only time will tell whether this reset button stays there or not.
I'm loving everything about it. I can't wait to get into it. I'm just really, really hoping. And if you guys could do me the biggest favor, man, and spam in the comments, if you agree with me, that you think that mining, herbing, and skinning should just be should be the secondary professions, along with fishing and cooking, like globally, right?
Absolutely.
Like everyone can mine, everyone can herb, everyone can skin. That way, as we're traveling around the world, not only do we have to not walk past a node and be like, oh, it's in red, requires mining. Realistically, in any RPG, if you see a node, you should just be able to pick at it, right? Like, if you see an herb, why is anything stopping you from bending over to pick up that herb and add it into your inventory? It just makes the world a lot more interactable. And now with this new profession specialization, with all these recipes, with this whole entire revamped system of professions, all we need to do is just make those 3 secondary, and we.
Who in their right mind is going to pick up herbalism and mining when the alternative option is something as fun as this? Like, why would you? Like, the God's honest truth, the only people that are going to pick up herbalism and mining are going to be bots. Like, because genuinely, why would you? Apparently Gathering's going to have its own stuff. Yeah, but they really, how far, what can they do to, they were halfway there with Legion with the Gathering professions. They were kind of on the right road. You had the ranks, you had like seeds that would drop. They were kind, there was the chance of an enemy to pop out of the node that you could kill and get more resources from. They were kind of on the right path with Gathering back in Legion. It's dog shit now, but they were on the right path back in Legion. But there's still nothing even remotely close to what they're doing with this. I think that to tell the player base that you've only got 2 profession slots, and that all of this new, like, they should want players to want to pick up these crafting professions, because it's the, where they're putting all the effort in. Just make Gathering baseline, for the love of God. Just make it baseline. Everybody knows how to use a fishing rod. Why can everybody use a fishing rod but not a mining pick? Why can everybody, put down a campfire and cook a piece of dragon meat, but they can't pick up a herb that's next to it? Just make them baseline. Make them baseline, and then let people pick 2 crafting professions and let them have fun with it. You're actively suggesting people don't have fun with the professions because they feel the need to pick up Gathering to make art. It's just dumb. Dumb. Gathering baseline. Do it. Do it. Gathering baseline. Yes. Make it happen. Make it happen. Everybody updates. All the updates. Fishing and cooking are honestly harder than the Gathering professions IRL. Yeah, fishing's got some skill to it. Anybody can bend over and pick up a herb. Sure, if you pull up a weed or you pick up a stinging nettle, then you're a bit of a dumb, but,
We can just start pairing, like, our main characters and even some of our alts. you know, to get ready for the Dragonflight Professions revamp?
Make
Tell me
gathering
in the
baseline
comments.
again.
And let me know what you think about all this. This is all really cool shit, man. I'm super excited for this. I think tomorrow I'm going to be working on alchemy. But yeah, come by the stream, twitch.tv/Tally. We're having so many people now come in and just getting excited for the expansion and sharing experiences. And, you know, basically I'm testing out. I'm doing my own alpha testing. And, you know, when I'm alpha testing, that means viewers.
You can see here as well, somebody's playing around with some alchemy. Olga has discovered a new file recipe. So somebody's doing their daily researches.
Some of you out there at home, you're also alpha testing, because that's what you do, right? You catch the things that I don't see when I'm talking to y'all in chat, and I'm just running around. And you're like, Tally, you missed that. Report it. Report the bug right now. And I get it. And I'm okay. You know, my stream is a backseat gaming friendly stream. Hope you all enjoy the video. Please leave your comments. Watch all my videos, man. I hope you guys love all the content we've been putting up on the stream for the past, on the YouTube for the last 6 or 7 months. I've been working my ass off just trying to rebuild this channel and kind of bring it back to a point where it was during like Kata and MOP with more consistency. And in the future, we're definitely going to have more variety and stuff once we, you know, play other MMOs or any games when there's some WoW downtime. But man, Dragonflight's looking good. This is looking good. All you profession nuts out there, get ready to make your cheddar, baby. Get ready to make your bread. Peace.
Let's hope. Let's hope. Make sure you, I'll throw the link in chat again. Make sure you go and drop a like on the video. Make sure you go show Towley some love, and more importantly, upvote the gathering baseline comment. Absolutely, definitely needs baseline. I'm actually tempted to, you know, do a little bit of a video on this, because I think now is the absolute perfect time. If they're going to refresh all the crafting professions, bite the bullet, Blizzard. I know it's a big change. I know herbalism and mining and skinning have been their own professions for the longest of time, but just make them baseline. We discussed this yesterday. We said that you know, you don't have to, it doesn't need to be an all or nothing situation. You could still keep herbalism, mining and skinning as their own individual professions, but you should then maybe allow them to be more efficient at herbalism, be more efficient at mining, be more efficient at skinning. But everybody should be able to run past a herb and pick it up. Even if by baseline you're restricted to only tier 1 quality materials. And then you'd have to actively have the profession to get better quality materials. That means if people want to spend a few hours doing some laps around the zone, picking up some higher quality materials on their druid, herb, and miner, they can do that and see value in doing it. But if you're just running around the world, you're doing your world quests, and you run past a shiny rock on the floor, you should be able to pick it up, really. I think that kind of makes sense. Skinning is not skinning, cloth gathering. It's not technically a profession, but it's basically baseline. Everybody can kill mobs and gather cloth. Everybody can go to Revendreth right now and do the 2x4 farm and end up with a bag full of lightless silk. If you are a tailor, though, you get more of it. So they kind of already do the system with cloth gathering, but it's just baked into tailoring, you know. If you are a tailor, you get more cloth, you get more lightless silk. Why not let everybody mine, let everybody herb, let everybody skin? But if you actually choose to take that as a profession, you're just able to be better at it. Makes perfect sense to me, but let's see what Blizzard think, eh? That's my take on gathering, at least. But let's talk about the spec trees then. Generally, I think these are pretty hot, you know. I'm liking the look of this. I'm liking the look of this a lot. It feels to me, now I'm not the biggest fan of time gating. I've made that quite apparent. I get really quite frustrated when things are time gated. But only when they're time gated for the sake of time gating them. At least with the professions, it feels like they might be time gated for the benefit of everybody, right? For you to have to choose a direction that you go in, You say, right, I want to make the best helms, or I want to make the best quality shoulders. If if you've been looking at the gear that you plan to have as a character, and you decide that, right, there's this crafted pair of shoulders that are going to be really good for me, I'm probably not going to get my shoulders to drop until like the last boss in the raid. That might mean that I might go a long time without a good pair of shoulders. I'm going to spec into being an armor smith, and I'm going to specialize into pauldrons so that I can craft myself a really good pair of shoulders. And because it's valuable to me, it might be valuable to others as well. That thought process that people have to go through, that's all part of the game. This is a game. You want to have enjoyment doing it, and do it for good reason. If I have to choose whether I spec all the way into shoulders for the good reason we just spoke about, somebody else might have a good reason to have to spec into shields because they're the tank. And the shield, they're not guaranteed a good shield for a while. Time gating and limiting people's ability to get huge amounts of skill ups in this. I think in that scenario it's good. It's good for the player base that people get to pick and choose and go in one direction or another. It's also very good for us as goblins that if you do, if you put more effort into your one character, if you have your main character that's got 2 crafting professions, and you're doing all the content, you're running your mythic pluses, you're running your raids, you're getting all your world content done, you're running about, you're probably going to get a lot more of these specialization points than Jimmy over there that just has alchemy on an alt, who doesn't really do much of the content, and arguably then is not going to be as good of an alchemist as you could be. I like this. I think it's looking good. I think it's looking good. Are you thinking that until we hit the end of a tree, say shields, we will be short crafting skill and either can't make quality 5 or need inspiration? The balancing of it is obviously very subject to change. The theory is meant to be that it depends on the recipe as well. They've turned around and they've said that the basic level recipes, by the time you've leveled up your profession, you should be able to make those at the max quality without too much difficulty. But the best gear, the best of the best gear, you're going to have to aggressively spec into to be able to make the best stuff. That's where your specializations are going to come in. That's where your profession gear is going to come in. You've got 3 gear slots, 1 profession tool and 2 profession accessories. You may need to, stock in, get the right stats on those to be able to sort of give yourself the best chance of making the best of the best, even if you've maxed out your profession, even if you've specced into a thing. There's a lot of balance that's going to have to go into this. This is what worries me. There's going to need to be a lot of balance, something that Blizzard has historically not been great at, and have got almost 0 experience when it comes to balancing professions, because they've never done anything like this before. I like myself the long attunement quest chains. The OG Onyxia one was great. It was a massive sense of achievement for finishing it. I hope there's actual proper real content to go alongside this. I really do hope that we have, a blacksmithing campaign, a jewel crafting campaign, which as you work through it, you at certain milestones through it, you complete, maybe it's 5 hours of content. It doesn't have to be a lot, right? But maybe there's 5 hours of content, and by the time you've finished it all, you know that you'll have obtained X amount of blacksmithing specialization points. It doesn't need to be huge amounts of content, but I just do hope that there is some content. This is what I've been absolutely begging for ages, begging for years. I mean, like I said, for me personally, Legion was one of the best expansions that they've ever done for professions. They really were on track for doing some fantastic things with Legion. You know, each of the professions having like actual quest chains. You know, you had to go to certain areas, introduce yourself to certain people. There was actually some, you felt like if you were doing blacksmithing, you could take an afternoon and you could say, right, I'm going to work on blacksmithing today. I'm going to go level up a few reps. I'm going to get better at crafting this item. I'm going to do the quest chain to unlock these patterns. There was stuff you could do. And the fishing artifact weapon was probably Blizzard's first sort of thoughts on how they can do this. This all seems to be, you can even tell by the art, it's very, very artifact fishing weapon thingy. It's very much on track with that. Right until you had to wait 2 months for the auto hammer rank 3. Well, yeah, they didn't get everything perfect, but they were on the right lines, you know. The rank system on the patterns was, you know, with it being a little bit random, that you just had to wait for a world quest. This is where I tend to think that choice should be made available for even the patterns. The only way for you to get Auto Hammer rank 3 was by that one stupid world quest that popped up never. It was either available or it wasn't. There should have been another way to get it, you know. Even if it was like, I don't know, trade in 50 Blood of Sargeras for the recipe or something. There should have been an alternative. But generally, I like the look of this. I think it's looking pretty good. I would obviously much prefer to be able to see it firsthand. Hopefully, if we can get some alpha access, or at the very least beta access to this, we can start, you know, diving through it and mathing it out a little bit more and trying to work out where the good routes are, where the not so good routes are. Everybody, you know, every man and their dog is looking through all of the spec trees for the new classes at the moment, trying to work out what's the best spec for their character. Us goblins are going to be doing the exact same thing, but for the professions, like which specialization might be effective to take at the beginning. Should you maybe take one to level up and then switch to another one to do some actual endgame crafting? What's going to be the best path to take? I love working all that stuff out. That's what the game is for me. I love the journey. Once I've worked it all out and once I've unlocked it all, I get real bored real quick. This is why once I'd unlocked all of the legendaries at rank 4, I kind of lost interest super duper quick with legendaries, because at that point I was just crafting them and cancel scanning, which there was no fun left in that. But so far, I like the look of this. This looks very, very good. Is there, talking of Wowhead, is there any other... Whoa, what happened to the token? What's going on here? Why did the token spike in price again? Hello? Do we reckon this has got to do with the experience buff? Has everybody decided, right, I'm going to resubscribe, and they've been presented the option to buy a token for game time and they've all clicked yes? Damn. Token spiked up to 360k again. Woof. Did it do the same in the NA? It did. Token spiked in the NA. What was going on here? What happened 12 hours ago that caused the token to do a madness? Odd. Right, sure. Feast and food models in Dragonflight. Here comes his subathon. You're probably not far wrong, actually. I guess he probably bought a lot of tokens, because he was giving out epic copies of Dragonflight and all sorts of stuff, wasn't he? Hey, that's a funky little feast. We've data mined some of the tasty food models on the Dragonflight Alpha. 3 models used for food that can be crafted and set down for a group to enjoy. The Horde of Draconic Delicacies, the Grand Banquet of the Kalawak, and Yusa's Hearty Stew. At least they're quite graphic. I tell you what, the art team does such a good job in this game. Blizzard art department should like, if they're not paid like outrageous. Some dragon kebabs. So there's a fried egg in the middle of that stew. Who's put a fried egg in the stew? Madness. What is this? Oh, it's some beer mug. Nice. Big dragon thigh. It's a bit small for a dragon thigh, isn't it? Maybe a baby dragon thigh. Really, Blizzard? I mean, if that's not cock and balls, I don't know what is. That's literally dragon cock and balls. That's okay then. Random ass stews, random ass pots. Cool. Alright. Nice big shank. Any more for any more? Any more for any more? Feast and food. Add up to 3 sockets to necklaces in Dragonflight using jewel crafting. Ooh! Go on then. Isn't this Dalaran? Isn't this the jewel crafting shop in Dalaran? New jewel crafting items being discovered on the Dragonflight Alpha, which reveals that necklaces can have up to 3 sockets. The item was found by Soul. Tiered medallion setting. Add 1 socket to an endgame Dragonflight necklace. A necklace can have up to 3 sockets. The quality of this item determines up to how many sockets it can hold. Clever. So it looks like it's more of a tiered. Your normal mode gear will have a socket on it. Heroic gear will have 2 sockets, and mythic will have 3 sockets. Cool. Cool. Some of the gems were data mined. We have epic gems from the word go by the looks of things. Or I should say, at least, you know, they are thinking about adding epic gems. We had epic gems for reference in the Shadowlands Alpha. They never materialized. We can speculate that the higher the item level, the higher the quality and the more sockets. Oh, this is the item itself then. Got 2 optional reagent slots for probably making it better. Uses some polishing cloth and a wisp of the tear. Okay. Not much to go by on that one though. But this probably just this probably is just to replace the whole, you know, buy a socket from Venari, put the socket in your gear. It's probably just saying, right, your necklace is where your gems are going. If your other gear rolls with a socket, so be it. If not, it doesn't. We're going to make it easy. We're just going to say, right, all the necks are where you get your gems. This could be a good thing because, you know, they're stacking to 3, or this could arguably yet be even more restrictive than it is today. We can only have, like, what is it, 5 gems? 5 gem sockets on your gear nowadays? I think it's 5, maybe 6. I think it's 5. This could be even more restrictive, meaning that you can only put 3 in. Or it could be the other way around, meaning that, you know, gear can roll with gem sockets a lot more frequently. But all of the, you know, to make your gear, you know, to add gems to additionally, they're all going to go in the necklace. That'd be quite cool. I'm interested to see jewel crafting in more detail because it's one of my main professions. I've always mained jewel crafting and leatherworking. 2 BIS professions in my mind. Overwatch 2 Reinhardt statue available for pre-order from the Blizzard store. Is this maybe why the token did a madness? But oh no, these are from the Blizzard store. You can't even use balance to buy this stuff. So, okay. Fishing profession equipment. We're gonna have some cool fishing gear. Nice little fishing hat, look. Damn! Check out that rod, son. got a couple of extra kinks in his rod, but sure. When you perform a profession-related action in Dragonflight, your character will visually swap into the special equipment. Here's a preview of what fishing might look like with a fishing rod and a hat. They look quite cool. Engineers absolutely definitely better be making these. That looks like a real engineering rod. Looks like some goblins thrown together in his back garden. Bunch of hats, bunch of rods. Okay, we're meant to be able to equip three things. I think this is, you know, hat being one, rod being another. What's going to be the third fishing thing? Is it going to be like a tackle bag, maybe? Like a bag of worms? That would be quite cool. In addition to the bonuses it provides, most pieces of equipment can now show on your character, letting you look the part of your profession. When you perform a profession-related action, your character will visually swap into the profession equipment and then switch back upon entering combat. For the time being, transmog will not be supported with profession equipment, keeping the visuals displayed directly connected with what you have equipped. We recognise that as more type of equipment is discovered over time, there will certainly be a desire for transmog support with this as well. Alright, fine. Because there seems to be like colour variations of your rod and stuff and your hats. People are blatantly going to want to colour match it to the rest of their gear, you know. Specialising in gear for other crafters early on will be a big win in my opinion. Yes. It goes by the theory, you know, it's what's that phrase that everybody always uses? In a gold rush, you should be selling shovels. Something along the, like, I don't know what it is, but it's that same sort of mantra, I reckon. With everybody picking up these professions, you got to remember that most people are going to have a little bit of a dabble with the professions, even if they're not like a goblin by heart. And those people are very quickly going to be like, oh, I can equip some stuff here to do stuff better. Maybe I'll go and buy a thing. Yeah, I definitely think that selling the profession gear early on is almost going to be more valuable than anything else. It's the biggest market, right? If you're niching down super deep into just making the very best shoulders, you're deliberately targeting a very niche audience. But the profession gear, every single blacksmith is going to want to have some blacksmithing profession gear on. Every single leather worker is going to want to do the same. Even people, like, honestly, anything that focuses on fishing, cooking, the secondary professions, your target market for fishing rods is every player in the game. Every single player in the game might be looking to buy a fishing hat and a fishing rod for their character, you know. Your market is then huge. If you can specialize into making this sort of stuff, I don't think you're going to have any problem selling this for like stupid money to begin with. Depending on the release date too, the Raid and Mythic Plus season might not be till January. We were talking about the timings a little bit the other day. It does kind of worry me slightly that if they're gonna have to get the timing of the release bang on, because even like 1 week, they want to release it in 2022. If they want to release it in 2022, I personally feel that they have to release it before December. If they want to release in 2022, it's got to be before December. So like the 15th of November to the end of November, those 2 weeks is when I think that they really have to release the game if they want to get it done in 2022. because if they release it too deep into December, it just clashes with Christmas and New Year, which nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. If you are somebody that, you know, has the ability to still actively play the game over Christmas and New Year, that's great. But you're still going to have the problem that there is many people that won't and can't play their normal amount over that period of time because it's fucking Christmas. It's New Year, you know. That 1 week period should not be when any big content gets released. The other option is if they release it like 15th of December and they don't start the raid season until January. Sure, but that still kind of fucks up people's first couple of weeks of playing the game. So, yeah, I tend to think that if they do want to hit a 2022 release, it's got to be the last couple of weeks in November. Latest. Absolutely the latest. That's my take on it anyway. Tends to be 5 weeks from the release to raid opening. If that's the case, then that's the case. But I still think that like late November is the latest they can get away with. Blizzard has announced fated raid schedule for Shadowlands Season 4. Didn't we already know this? Didn't we already know this? That it's going to be 1 raid per week. And then they're going to cycle. Starting on August 2nd. Didn't we already know this? As we're approaching closer to the launch of Season 4, on the week of August the 2nd, we wanted to provide the fated raid schedule in advance so that raid groups can start their preparation and planning. Okay. 2nd of August, it's going to be Castle Nathria. Then SOD, Septula, Castle Nathria, Sanctum, Septula, so on and so on and so on. I thought we already knew this. Late November would potentially clash with Thanksgiving, though. I hate to tell you, but Americans are a small fraction of the world. I don't think that's going to make a blind bit of difference. So on and so on until the rotation is removed and all the fated raids are in a later season. While a raid is in fated mode, it will only be available in fated difficulty. But the other 2 raids will still be available that week in their non-fated difficulty. Okay. I guess this is just a clarification because I thought we already knew all of that. Maybe we did already know that. It's just clarification. I'm aware that the bulk of the Blizzard staff are based in America. Yeah, true, I suppose that may be a component of it, but they may not want to launch the game Thanksgiving, you know, like on the day, but if it's not on the exact day, then they will, I don't think they care that much. I mean, look at Blizzard's track record with their employees. I don't think they care that much about a public holiday. But they've turned a corner. You know. Or at least that's what we're meant to believe. Drakthir starting questline, Forbidden Reach questline. This is spoilers, I won't go through spoilers. And then this is all stuff that we've seen already. Mining profession equipment. I've not seen this yet, actually. Well, I lie, I have, but let's just take another quick look. So we've got some new pickaxes. Nothing too special. Some little box of goodies. It's not really... Oh, this is like a backpack then. Oh, okay, I see. You throw in your gems and whatever, and your pieces of ore. You've got a little hammer and a canary in a vase. Mining hat with a candle on it. Poor kobolds, we've stole all of their candles. Colour variations again. Little shovel. Looks good enough to me. It's weird we've seen like literally nothing for herbalism yet, or skinning. Oh, no, not skinning. Sorry, we have seen some skinning stuff. We've seen nothing for herbalism. Dragonflight's systems future-proofed. How? What? Why do they bother? Why do they try? Why do they try and hang on? Why do they do this? Because they know that they scrap this stuff like the next expansion anyway. Hang on, let's do this on the old YouTubes. So who's this? Mana Crew. We got a interview with Morgan Day based on content and features. Oh, Mana Crew, I believe. Well, I'm gonna guess here. It looks like it's a German YouTube channel. I'm making an assumption that's German. If it's not, I apologise. But the interview, at the very least, is in English. Associate Game Director. At the moment, it is very often emphasised that feedback is more important to you than ever. Are there new ways to get feedback during the Dragonflight test phase, and above all, to implement adjustments? Community Council.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we're actually taking quite a different approach to our alpha testing than we've taken in the past.
Yeah, you're not letting me in.
Players are doing
That's
a lot of
the big
comparisons
change.
right now between our current alpha and our
Hashtag
previous
not
alphas
salty.
and how that kind of squares up with our development versus our release date. But, you know, I think what people are going to find is there's a very different approach this time where we're really focusing on much more targeted testing. This is not too dissimilar from what you might have seen with our raid testing in the past, where we'll put up a raid, we'll have a boss open, and then, you know, we'll take it down and it won't just like stay open, which is more what we've done in the past with a lot of our other types of content where, you know, we just kind of have a build and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So we really want to focus that testing.
This is a frustration for me. If they're going to put content up and then take content down, if I get into the alpha, say at the last week of the alpha, I'm only going to be able to see what's available in that 1 week of the alpha. It still doesn't, you know, it's that in itself is a frustration, because you often then you'll probably find that you won't be able to see the big picture, right? You won't actually be able to, you know, compare, right, well, what does this feature have compared to that feature?
This time, and really let the players' feedback kind of guide our direction as we move forward. You know, we'll hopefully get a public alpha into the players, into a broader audience soon. And when we do that, we'll actually have kind of a bit of a roadmap that will lay out in terms of what the focuses of each testing phase will be. So it's not that, you know, necessarily the tools have changed. It's really just we're changing our approach with how we're releasing that stuff. And also just, you know, Dragonflight is quite far along. I'm sure if you had a chance to play the alpha, you know, not just the Azure span, but the continent as a whole is really, really far along. And players will see as these testing phases roll out that there used to be like, I'd have to go back and look at a calendar or something, but like, you know, the time from seeing the first zone in alpha of Shadowlands versus the last zone in alpha of Shadowlands was a much longer.
Don't know how many of you remember that when we first got into Korthia was an absolute shell when we got there. And that was when it was on the PTR. Like they you know, Korthia was an absolute hole until it developed like really quite aggressively over the testing phase. Whereas at least from what I have seen of Dragonflight in the zones, they're, I wouldn't say polished, but they're all there.
Period of time, then we're planning for this rollout of our Dragon Isles zone.
The more in alpha was terrible, the more in beta was terrible, the more in live is still terrible.
And just how far along those zones are as well. And then I guess now that I'm talking, I did think of one thing, right? Like we are trying to take a different approach in terms of just communication, right? Like there was recently a professions blog that came out that really dove deep into what a lot of these specifics of our professions are going to be. So even though those things might not be readily available for testing on the alpha, we do want to leverage all of our communication channels to get that information out there so we can start getting feedback, not just from players that are actively in the alpha playing with it, but also, you know, the entire World of Warcraft audience can engage on, you know, the forums or other areas where we can kind of communicate with them. So we're really looking to leverage a lot of different options this time around.
Okay, question number 2. The community noticed a slower rate for updates in the recent expansion. So we're wondering if we shall expect the same rate for updates in Dragonflight as in Shadowlands, or does the team have a different goal for Dragonland, for Dragonflight? See, these questions are always so loaded because it doesn't matter what the situation is. Blizzard are never going to turn around and say no to this, are they? They're always going to say, yeah, content's going to be faster. This is the problem with these questions, that, you know, there's only one right answer to this, and of course they're going to give the right answer. Ten years ago, they said they wanted to do one expansion. Exactly,
I'll tackle the second part of that question first. You know, our goal has always been to provide fresh experiences at a satisfying rate to our players. You know, we know that Shadowlands, we didn't, you know, hit the mark that we were aiming for, and we have very robust plans for Dragonflight to come out with, you know, updates at a regular.
I mean, that you could have really phrased that question a little bit. I'm not digging at the questions here so much, but I'm just saying, like, the way you could switch that question round to actually get a more constructive answer would be like, we only saw, you know, 3 raids in Shadowlands. How many raids should we expect to see in Dragonflight? You know, a direct question that basically says the same thing. Are we going to get more content at a more frequent update, but doesn't give them an easy get out of jail free card? How many raids should we expect to see? If they turn around and say 3, we know we're in for a slow ass patch cycle again. If they turn around and say 5, we know that it might be a bit speedier.
A cadence that is satisfying our players, you know, needs and desires, and they're very hungry for content, and we're really confident in our plans and our strategy this time around. And in terms of the borrowed power elements of the expansion, something that I'm not sure that necessarily would change the rate
you getting
that we're
bolder?
developing
Direct
things.
question.
But really,
yes.
You know, our motivation behind that was, with this expansion, you know, we're returning to the Dragon Isles. They're kind of awakening. You know, we saw the initial cinematic and we're like lighting the fires, and just that idea of awakening. We really wanted to leverage that in our philosophy for the entire expansion's development. So rather than, you know, coming up with like these systems that are tied to specific expansions, we really wanted to look at this as an opportunity for refurbishment and, you know, kind of rebuilding foundational systems.
Why'd you look up when you're thinking about what PR bullshit and, you know, to sell? There's some psychology to that. It's like, if you look up to your, you know, if you look up to your right, I can't remember which way it is. You'll probably catch me doing it now that I'm saying it. But if you look up to one direction, you're trying to, that's your brain trying to dig through information and pull something out. But if you look up to the other direction, I can't remember if it's to the left or to the right, which way around it is. But one of them is you're looking up to, you're looking for something that isn't a thing. You're creating something new. I'm sure there's some psychology people out there that will understand that better. But yes, there are definitely some tells. This is why Ian Hazakostas is very good, because he's well PR trained, and he's, you know, he's a lawyer by trade. He doesn't fall for things quite as simply as that. When you look up, you're visualizing images. Left is from the mind, right is creating bullshit. Okay. So I always know that there's something. If you look up in one direction, you're trying to recall a memory. If you're looking up the other way, you're trying to, you know, make something up on the spot. It's a big tell.
If we spend the entirety of Dragonflight
poker face
iterating on professions or talents or some of these other systems, those are those are improvements that will come with us into, future development of World of Warcraft. So that was something that we were really excited to kind of revisit those foundational systems and look to make sure that we're building them in a way where we can continue to, expand upon them in the future and make them much more future proof.
So we got nothing out of that one. Discovery and exploration are said to play a huge role in the Dragon Isles. Can you tell us what to expect besides the common things like World Quest rares, treasures, and so on? Is there going to be good stuff in the zones? What do we feel the answer for this is going to be? What do we feel the answer? Waffle. They're going to talk about the fact that each zone has its own mini renowned grind. Yes. Dragon riding achievements.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like you mentioned, the Dragon Isles are gigantic. They're one of the largest zones and continent that we've released for an expansion. It's even, I believe, larger than Northrend, which is pretty awesome. You might have noticed, so endgame content, especially in the outdoor world, has always been a focus of ours. But I really feel like almost back since Legion, when we introduced world quests and emissaries for the first time, was where we really started to look to evolve it as, really a core pillar of our expansion's content and features that we're updating. And Dragonflight is no different here. So if you leveled through or quested through the Azure Spans, you'll notice that there is almost like a core faction or group, or we'll call them major factions that you'll be introduced with. And in Azure Span, it's the Tuskar, right? That's a group that you do a lot of questing with. You're working with them a lot, and they have a huge hub that actually opens up in the south part. I forget exactly where it is in the zone, the southeast maybe of the zone, where there will be a ton of activities that will open up for you at endgame. And something that we are kind of leveraging that we're really excited about is really carrying forward a lot of these philosophies that we have been developing over the course of Shadowlands, like with Zereth Mortis, a huge focus.
There's your Zereth Mortis plug. Who said Zereth Mortis? Who ticked that off their bingo card? Smooth George, well done.
Of ours was really trying to listen to player feedback, where they, didn't want to have so many things that were daily, where they felt like they had to log in every day or they fall behind. They just want to log in, do what they want to do with the time that they have, and then log out. So that's really a philosophy that we're continuing to drive towards with Dragonflight. And something that's really exciting is each of these zones, like the Tuskar and Azure Isles, or Azure Span, will have a major faction like that across each zone. So you'll meet the Tuskar in the Azure Span. And in the Onaran Plains, there's these Centaur clans that you'll be introduced with, and you'll get to quest with them. And at max level, there's a ton of activities that will open up with them that will be unique to them, like things like going out on a hunting party and, kind of questing with them at max level, which is a very different experience than what you would expect the Tuskar to do. Like, they're not going to go out on their hunting parties. They might go find a fishing hole or something, right? So we really wanted to lean into that idea of these major factions having different unique identities, and what they would ask us to do would be very different as well. So that's something that we'll see more of, especially as we start to open up a lot of the max level content. But that has very much been a focus of ours, is really trying to create that variety and leaning into these major factions.
Very political answer. Each zone's going to have its own faction. Not overly surprised. I do hope that once I think examples of things of what were people at when they put these questions forward, people are expecting some example, like, oh, the Tuskars are going to host, like, similar to the Stranglethorn Vale fishing thing. Maybe the Tuskars are going to host a fishing event every few days. Or maybe the Centaurs are really into, go-karting, and there's a mini go-karting course up in the Centaur area. That's a mini game that you can go and engage with. These are the kinds of things that people want to hear. The fact that there's just going to be a faction in a zone is maybe not really that exciting. A big zone, great. Not so many dailies I can get behind for sure. Add them all together, flying for half an hour every day again. Yeah, they need to do like a little bit of something that's just chill, I wish these devs for once would sit down with players, all kinds, and just ask what they want to see and do. Yeah, I think that ties into what I always feel has been Blizzard seem to, in many cases, quite rightly, put themselves on a pedestal. They like to stand above everybody else and tell everybody else what they think should be fun. Whereas if it was the other way round, if they allowed the player base to turn around, I mean, look at silly things, right? For how many years did we want a dance studio? Dance Studio was on the cover of the Cataclysm expansion, I believe. It was on the actual cover art, and it never made it into the game. Just little things like the Trial of Style. Little dumb little things that only matter to a few people, but they don't take a huge amount of development time. And if a few people engage with it, great. If they don't, they don't. Doesn't matter. But, if you've got 4 big zones, you have a little something in each one of those zones, a mini game, a mini activity sort of thing that people can play with. And if it's fun, people will make their own competitions up. And, Asmongold hosts his transmog competitions and his mounts off and stuff. Imagine there was a little go-kart track in one of the zones. You'd get, like, flipping some mini Mario Kart style tournament being put on or something. There's lots of things that people will be creative if there's fun stuff out in the world to do. When a question is asked of what is the fun stuff that's going to be in the zones for Dragonflight, and the answer is, well, there's going to be a faction you can grind reputation with, that doesn't excite me. It straight up does. Oh, another faction I can gain reputation with. Okay. So then when you're not excited by the activity itself, your next logical question is, well, what are the rewards of doing that going to be? And then you're hoping that the rewards are good enough to give you the incentive to do it. It shouldn't be that way round. It should be the other way round. It should be that the activity itself you want to go and do anyway, and hey presto, there's a bonus that there's a toy or a transmog or something that you can get from doing it if you do it enough. Just for transmog comps, mounts off an instance just for doing that. Yeah, like a little zone that a bunch of people can go in. Like a it could be like a mini stadium. What was the this was a thing, the blood of, what were they called? For the first few expansions of the game, there was the boss came out, and it was usually like a 3-player activity, and it was usually in some sort of like, there was one in Burning Crusade, they added one in Wrath. There was even achievements that went along with them. Not even the scenarios. The mini. It was always like a little arena. The Ring of Blood, that sort of thing. Yeah. Maybe just have like a mini stadium that you can instanced into, and everybody sits in the crowd, and then a person is called forward for like a transmog competition sort of thing. That everybody has their seat in the arena. And, people take it in turns to go and showcase their transmog, or they do a mount-off sort of thing. Brawler's Guild was another good example. Not the one I was referring to, but Brawler's Guild was another example of a mini-game sort of thing that didn't really mean a lot, but people engaged with it because it was fun. A nice little voting UI, that would be cool. There's so much stuff they could do if they just did it for the purpose of having fun. Like, I've sat here for 3 minutes and listed off a bunch of different options that I think could kind of work quite well. A casino? Yeah. Yeah. Loads of little things. Final Fantasy is actually a really good example of some of the just weird and wacky stuff. Maybe I was slightly inspired by Final Fantasy there, because of course you got like the Chocobo racing and stuff. The Golden Saucer, yeah. They should do something. If they're going to do this dragon flying thing, once again, like I said before, they need to just take an idea and run with it, rather than doing the half-assed safe approach. They're going to give us dragon riding, and we already know there's going to be some sort of like dragon races, But they really need to go all in with this. We need leaderboards. We need people. You need to give people the ability to bet on it. You need to have like a grandstand where people can all dive in and they can watch the races happening. There's so much stuff they could do if they just wanted to be creative. A casino that works with gold. It won't be available in a lot of countries because you can buy gold with real life money. Yeah. The casino side of things is a touchy one, sure, because gambling train wrecks appears. He rocks in with his stake.com sponsorship. Yep, sure. I don't think they can do gambling in WoW. Unlike in Final Fantasy, there's a way to convert money to currency and then back to money, so regulations might apply. Yeah, the whole gambling side of things is a bit sticky, but like, you could definitely do some stuff. Even gamble channel points on Twitch because of my country's gambling laws. Oh, wow, okay. Loads of stuff they could do. What's the next question, though? Let's move on. Oh, a professions question. Good. Professions are a huge part of Dragonflight. Can you give us some hints on new stuff for the secondary professions? See, this is a more targeted question. I like this. Easy fix, don't sell the token.
Right, fishing is definitely something, with the Tuskar, that's something that we have some fun plans in store. I don't want to spoil too much, but the team is definitely playing around with what are cool things that we can do with fishing, even things like what does co-op fishing look like, for instance, like fun things like that we're talking about kind of experimenting with. Archaeology will not.
Fishing lax. Are we going to have fishing lax? It's going to be a thing, isn't it? Straight up fishing lax. Why is that not a thing anyway? Have I just given Student an idea for his next stream? You've all got to stand in the Tuskar zone and you just have a fish off. Who can get the biggest fish? Fishing loot appraiser challenges. Make it a thing.
There won't be dig sites or anything like that in the Dragon Isles. But that's definitely something that we've listened to feedback on, and is something that would be open to exploring kind of in our patch updates, is what would it look like if there were some archaeology things that might pop up through the patch development.
Oh. Okay. The answer to that was we might do something with fishing. Okay. With the return to Azeroth, many have asked for an overhaul, or partly overhaul of the old world. As we know, that is not the case. But can we expect to visit the old zones with new content, or are we only going to explore the Dragon Isles? Too short, that's what she said.
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for opportunities to kind of continue to progress stories of Azeroth itself. We might have even seen most recently with our patch 925 update, there was a really fun, it was actually a bit of a secret where people didn't even know it was going to be available with Kalia Menethil questline and kind of the retaking of Lordaeron. So that's always something we're looking for opportunities for, but our main focus is going to be on the Dragon Isles and the story of the Dragonflights, as well as the Incarnates, who are kind of the protagonists that we're introduced to as we're questing through these zones. So yeah, that's something we're super excited about. And just to riff off of that a little bit, we were talking about our different kind of approach to the alpha. That's that idea of having things that are a bit more mysterious and things that aren't tested are something that we've been exploring and using a bit more, like with the Kalia Menethil questline, in the Sepulchre of the first one raid, in Zereth Mortis. There was a bunch of raid bosses that didn't get tested. So we really want to try to lean into that with Dragonflight, where once you get to max level, there's a lot more mystery about what the story is going to unfold. And also the content that is associated with that will be a bit more veiled.
What was the question again? Oh. What? Okay, sure. What is your favourite zone on the Dragon Isles and why? This is a little bit more of an open question. I mean, nobody's digging for an answer on this one. Let's see. There's 4 new zones. Which is going to be the favourite?
I have to go with the Anaran Plains. I just love the story and the culture of the Centaur tribes. Like, I just really love how ingrained into the land they are, how they're all very unique. I don't want to get too deep into the spoilers of the story that happens there, but it's really, really cool what unfolds there. And one of the unique elements of the zones, as well as the story as you level up through these zones, is each zone has a Dragonflight that's kind of associated with them. So Azure Span, which we saw, which you've been playing and you've seen yourself, you might have noticed had a focus on the blue Dragonflight, and the Tuskar working with the blue Dragonflight. And there are unique elements of each zone that actually kind of ties in those Dragonflights. Like there's that whole kind of crystalline, almost ley line looking space within the Azure Span. So the Anaran Plains will get reintroduced with the green Dragonflight, and that idea of the dream and these almost shamanistic tribal centaur. It's just a really, really cool vibe, as well as like that really like down to earth story that feels so core World of Warcraft. It's not really high stakes. It's just, hey, there's these tribes, get to know them, what are their local stories, and oh hey, green dragons are here too. Those are always fun when you get to talk about the dreamers and all the trippy stuff that they talk about.
Okay. After some testing, we think dragon riding is pretty awesome. It feels amazing to fly and dive around, and it's something completely different to the normal flying. Dragon riding is the new main feature of Dragonflight. But what exactly can we expect besides flying and exploring? What are we going to do with our dragons? Well, I think we already kind of know the answer to this. It's been data mined that there's going to be like some proper races, and there'll be like gold, silver, bronze awards for the races. I would cook them. Jesus, Jack, calm down. I think it would be. I've already think that it would be really nice if there's like a big grandstand and there's like weekly. Maybe do it on a Saturday afternoon or something. That usually like like a mini tournament happens. Fastest lap of the day wins like I don't know a thing, and people can sit in the grandstand and they can watch the races and they can cheer for their guild member or whatever the hell. Dragon races, I think, is something that they really should lean into. If you're gonna, breed them, raise them, sell them, cook them, why does everybody want to eat the dragons? You're all just weird. What did poor dragons do to dragon jousting? Who remembers the Argent tournament with the jousting? That was both really fun and outrageously annoying at the same time. Because latency was a big issue with that stuff. A dragon pizza. Alright, Jack, I think you're hungry. Go eat some food, man. My God. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Jesus. Okay. Beat the dragons until they reveal where their gold stash is.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, I do want to speak to the first part, and then I'll, can talk about some of the new content that might unlock as well. But yeah, dragon riding is something that we're really excited as. We feel it changes, really fundamentally changes the way that you interact with questing in World of Warcraft. Like so often when I'm questing in World of Warcraft, I hop on my mount, I look at my quest objective, and I just kind of run in a straight line. And we really wanted to kind of lean into like the joy of movement and exploration and creating more engagement there. So rather than just like kind of running in a straight line, when I'm questing out in the world now in these, giant expansive zones, I'm always looking for an opportunity, right? I'm like, oh, there's a big hill over there. Let's actually go over here, jump off that hill, see if I can't, gain some speed and like get to my destination way faster. And we really wanted to, as we were talking about this feature, wanted to make sure there was a lot of depth in the flying. It's been fun listening to feedback, not just with our friends who've been playing this week, but also our own team internally, hearing the different stories about someone who's like, I can't get very far with my dragon riding, and I don't feel like I'm able to move around that fast. And then the next person will come into our office and say like, I never touch the ground. Like I'm constantly in the air, zipping around, and just we wanted to make sure that there was a degree of mastery in this feature itself, so that you really feel like there's a lot that you can learn and master with just movement around the world. And with mastery comes opportunity, right? We wanted to say,
Dragon
okay, well,
races,
if these
make
people
it a
are getting
thing.
so good at flying, let's think about different features or different activities that we could create where you can kind of like express that mastery. So I'm not sure if you maybe had a chance to see, but there's these like almost time trials that
We
are
saw
kind of
one yesterday, yeah.
yeah. So there's plans to make quite a few of those where there's different opportunities to even have like gold, silver, bronze, and you can kind of get different time trials that you can kind of test yourself against. But also there's obviously opportunity to do like player racing. So like we can kind of race each other and have races that might pop up periodically where you can really test your mettle against other people. So there's very much plans to have activities that are solely focused on dragon riding.
Yeah, but the question was, dude, what are they? Oh, Morgan, you're usually so good in interviews. Okay, Threads of Fate system in Shadowlands was a nice new addition for players who love to play alts. Can we expect to see something similar in Dragonflight? Can I throw a hot take into the mix here? My hot take into the mix is I don't think Threads of Fate was a success. I do not believe Threads of Fate was a success, and I'm quite confident that Blizzard don't see Threads of Fate as a success. You know why? Because it made leveling so boring. Outrageously level boring. If you are world quests, bonus objectives is what's meant to keep you occupied when you ding 60, when you hit max level in between, and even then it's not great content. Having that also as the fastest way to level up, I tend to think was a bad move. I don't think it was a nice addition for players who love playing alts. It ended up being the fastest way to do it. The fastest way to do it is rarely the most enjoyable way of doing it. Don't you dare remove my Threads of Fate. I did kind of know this would be a bit of a hot take. But the problem being is that it's just, I don't want to do the whole campaign over again. Well, leveling shouldn't be strictly about the campaign. You should be, questing through the zones, gaining levels, gaining experience. Running and doing 4 bonus objectives and 3 world quests to fill a bar, and then once you've filled the bar, you get a free level of experience because you filled the bar, and then go on to do the next. It's just, I don't know. I don't think Threads of Fate is a good, like, if that's going to be what leveling is boiled down to, just get rid of leveling. If you can't make an interactive, fun, enjoyable experience whilst leveling, just get rid of it. It probably should be that once you've done the campaign once, if you wish to have more alts, I would much prefer it be that the leveling speed was like super fast. Like, you've done it once, you've done the leveling once, you've played the game a sufficient amount. Now, if you want more characters, you should be able to do it like batshit crazy fast. Threads of Fate, again, was a system where they kind of half-cooked it. I feel that it was half-cooked. They made this Threads of Fate system, and they had to make sure that people used it to justify its development time. And so, to do that, they made it so Threads of Fate is a fraction bit faster than leveling the traditional way, which meant it became the meta way. And so everybody uses Threads of Fate to level because it's purely the fastest way of doing it now. Play the story once, get 200% XP buff for alts. Yeah, real simple. Real simple. If you've played through the story, if you've got your max level character, if you've done that once, make it so that Lawmaster gives you a 50% XP boost. Yeah, something along those lines. If you've done the story once, you should not have to do it again. You should be able to, get those alts faster if needs be. I don't think Threads of Fate was the right solution. Put it this way, would people actively choose Threads of Fate if it was the slower approach? If just doing the regular questing and the regular campaign was actually significantly faster than Threads of Fate, Would people choose Threads of Fate because it was more fun? I don't think so. Yes, because I hate questing. Mixed opinions. I knew this one would be a mixed opinions one. No questing, please. I knew this would be a mixed opinion one. I knew that was going to be the case. But I tend to think that whilst Threads of Fate is heavily used, I wouldn't necessarily put it in the category of a success. People don't even choose questing even though it's more fun than Threads of Fate. It's, yeah, I mean, I wish we had numbers for this. I wish we had numbers for just how many people go, you know what? I'm just going to buy a boost. Boom, $60, boom. I want to play a new character. I know it's only going to take me 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours to level up this character. I really don't want to. I've done it 7 times already. I'm just going to buy a boost. Boom, $60, job done. I would be surprised if the sales of boosts are not monstrous. Look at classic dungeon grinding. Grinding is more popular. Dungeon grinding is more popular for levels. You're actually not wrong. Yeah. When using the just fill a bar take, remember that you can fill the bar by doing several different activities, even by just hunting chests and rares. True. True. I don't know what the solution is for leveling. I tend to feel that they need to make the repeat content faster. If it takes you 12 hours to level from 1 to 60 the first time by doing the campaign, by seeing the story, there is no justification for the leveling of an alt to take any more than 3 or 4 hours. In my opinion. I think in the way that games are designed nowadays is, especially as more stuff goes account wide, you know, as more stuff does start to go account wide, everybody wants account wide reputations. Why should your first character take you 12 hours to level, but your second character still takes you 11 hours to level? Like, why is that a restriction? You know? Why are people so gung-ho about having reputations and stuff be account-wide, yet there's not more of a stink about just how repetitive leveling alts is in the first place? I don't know. Anyway, let's see what Morgan has to say on this scenario. Can we expect to see something similar in Dragonflight to the Threads of Fate system?
Yeah, so Threads of Fate was something that, you know, very high level. The goal with Threads of Fate was so that, you know, if I'm a player who really loves making multiple characters, we want to make sure you have options to level your character in different ways and experience different things. So Threads of Fate in particular was just us looking at that opportunity and saying, hey, what if you just go out into any of the zones? And, you know, there was some like, you know, the bar that fills up as you do different activities. We turned on world quests. So we definitely still believe philosophically that we really want to provide players with options while they're leveling new characters, so that if you play through the quest in a more linear fashion, or sorry, the narrative quest through each zone in a more linear fashion, that's not something that we require you to do on each of your new characters. So we don't have specifics to announce in terms of like, yes, we're doing Threads of Fate again. But we do want to make sure that we provide players with opportunity to have different options as they're leveling up.
So yes, they want options, but no, they're not directly doing Threads of Fate again. Okay, interesting. Will Dragonflight bring some new long-term motivations for players who do not like to play dungeons, raids, or PvP? Maybe more solo activities other than world quests. Well, this is absolutely the professions, right? This is absolutely going to be, yep, we're going to, you know, we're expanding professions. You can play with professions. You can level up stuff. That's absolutely going to be the answer to this, right? Surely.
Yeah, so
Because, but I know, pause, Andy. I know, but before, because we already know that there's not like an overarching system or a feature. I mean, there's no Torghast, there's no island expeditions, there's no war fronts, there's nothing along these lines. So you know, if it's not world content, it's got to be professions, right?
I mean, there's no plans to have, you know, like a Torghast style feature, you know, like there's
I
no
swear I've not seen
Torghast or islands. We're really focusing, like I mentioned, like philosophically on this refurbishment and this awakening, and really looking at core elements of World of Warcraft and trying to lean into really investing and developing those core elements. So, you know, Mythic Plus is absolutely something that is going to get some major updates. There's pretty big plans there that I don't want to announce, but you know, you might have seen season 4 with Shadowlands, where we're completely changing the Mythic Plus pool, where we're even bringing in some old dungeons.
Hang on, Morgan. I love you, my man, but that wasn't the question.
More linear fashion, or sorry, the narrative quest through each zone in a more linear fashion. That's not something that we require you to do on each unity to have. So, I mean,
the question was, will Dragonflight bring some new long-term motivation for players who do not like to do dungeons, raids, and PvP? You know, people who do not engage in the big three. What is them for them? Don't start talking about Mythic Plus. God. If you don't like doing Mythic Plus, good luck. Good. We have more Mythic Plus news.
Philosophically on this refurbishment and this awakening, and really looking at core elements of World of Warcraft and trying to lean into really
Mythic Plus is not a core element of World of Warcraft.
Those core elements.
It was
so,
tagged
Mythic
on
Plus
for
is
engagement
absolutely
purposes.
something that is going to get some major updates. There's pretty big plans there that I don't want to announce, but you know, you might have seen season 4 with Shadowlands, where we're completely changing the Mythic Plus pool, where we're even bringing in some old dungeons as well. So we're very much looking to experiment in season 4, and we're excited to get player feedback on how that feels, right? Like, how does it feel to have, you know, in 1 minute you're doing Tazavesh Mythic Plus, and the next you're doing Mythic Plus from, you know, an expansion 2 expansions ago. But we really feel like that content still holds up. And we really want to do more to leverage some of that more legacy content that we think is still really fun. And then we could layer rewards on top of that legacy content to keep it fresh.
Okay. So that was what do I want? What is there for me to do if I don't enjoy Mythic Plus? Well, you can do some more Mythic Plus. Okay. There was a lot of feedback on the Drakthir's body, which seemed a bit flimsy for a dragon. I love how they've... That's a great way of describing it. A bit flimsy for a dragon. You know, I tend to think my dragons are a bit more Giga Chad than that sort of twiggy stick. That twiggy lizard over there. Seems a bit flimsy for a dragon. Might break in flight. How did you deal with that internally? Okay. Flimsy for a dragon.
Yeah, that was something that we talked about quite a lot, actually. So with the Drakthir in particular, if you know, hopefully you have already, or you will soon get the opportunity to play through the Forbidden Reach, which is kind of the Drakthir starting experience, where we really dive into...
Not without an alpha key, my friend.
Kind of the origin story of the Drakthir and how they were created and what they were created for. And, you know, we really wanted to approach this from the perspective of having a more neutral body style that will give the players more customization options. But through feedback from our players, we did want to allow, we did actually, I think recently just even came out with a new blog post where we had some new body types that were introduced, where you now have, you know, the one that players saw originally when we announced Dragonflight. And there are ones that have a bit more bulk, or even a bit less bulk in some cases, so that we really wanted to just have players have the option to customize their character and represent themselves however they wanted to. So that was definitely something that we took seriously. We did feel really strongly about having, you know, a body type that feels like it could fit across all genders and customization options that would support that. But we also don't want to close the door on feedback like that. So I'm personally really proud of what the team was able to achieve. I think based on the feedback I saw from that blog post, people were pretty excited about the new options that were opened up. And I think with, there were new color options, there were new body type options, and the amount of customization that's possible with the Dracthyr is...
I know they're not dragons. I know they're Dracthyr. But I mean, people have this embedded, mindset of what a dragon looks like. Every motherfucker's seen Game of Thrones and understands what a dragon looks like. The Dracthyr don't look like dragons. They look like a human as dressed up like a dragon. It's a bad one at that. The wings, cool. The wings, I think, should be much bigger. I think they should play a big part of it, but they still look a bit sticky, a bit sticky lizards rather than dragons in my mind.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Like the stuff that you can do with the character creation there, I think is so exciting, not only with the Dracthyr dragon form, but also your visage form and how, the more humanoid form looks is really, really exciting and something that we're looking to hear feedback on.
Oh, okay. Gear specializations, bonuses, quite a lot of new things for crafting. All of this sounds cool, but how do you want to carry this on after Dragonflight without it getting too much? Or is this overhaul specifically designed for Dragonflight? This is very similar to a question I would be posing. That the new crafting system looks good, but how the hell do you build on it? How do you iterate on it so that it, your time and effort is still rewarded going forward? Every expansion having a full hard reset on your crafting is ultimately needed, but is there not possibly a better solution to it? Back in the day, let's not forget, you had to level through all of the expansions. Now, obviously, when we got onto our 7th and 8th and 9th expansion, that started to get a bit gross. Was it Warlords of Draenor the first time that they basically said, right, you just, you can start at Warlords of Draenor for crafting? I think it was WoD. Prior to WoD, I think you still had to level up everything. But leveling up everything maintained demand and interest in at least the zones and the materials from prior. Nowadays, who gives a damn about cobalt ore? Nobody. A very, very small percentage of people care about cobalt ore because there are a very small percentage of people that try and craft some items from that era that may possibly be bought by somebody looking for transmog. It's a very, very niche setup. I do hope if we're going to get all of this blacksmithing artifact, blacksmithing profession knowledge, that we can take that experience and they can build on it rather than just turn it off and make something new. Anybody for dragon sushi? You're getting me hungry, Jack. I need some food.
Yeah, I mean, very much, I have mentioned previously, the goal is for that to be foundational. That's something when we run.
Time check. Time for one additional question after this one. The PR's coming. PR's exposed. Right, you've had your time now. You've had 20 minutes. Morgan's got to go do another interview.
I really wanted to look at this as an evergreen update, something where we can create depth and engagement that players will not only enjoy for Dragonflight, but we have built a foundation where we can expand on that moving into future updates, future expansions, and have something that will be able to stand the test of time and is built to be almost more like future-proof from the beginning, where a lot of our early systems that we developed, to hear feedback on. You didn't, working on World of Warcraft, there's that unique challenge of, well, the game is, I forget how many years old at this point. Like I think it's 18 or 20 years old. Like it's, when you initially build systems for, developing games, you don't think, well, in 20 years, what will this look like? So this was an opportunity for us to think about it through that lens of, okay, we want this to last multiple expansions. This is not something that we want to, leave in Dragonflight. We want to build a foundation that we can just continue to improve.
If that's the case, then baseline gathering professions. I'm going to stamp my feet until it happens. If they want this to be a system that they can iterate on and build on going forward, and they're going to make significant changes to crafting now, which is apparent what's happening with all these specialization trees, and the whole crafting system is being completely rebuilt, make gathering baseline, for the love of God, Blizzard. I really hope that's not something that they are actually planning to do, but they're just trying to keep that up their sleeve for next expansion. You have to start doing that daily Twitter post that tags the Warcraft devs. Yeah, I do. Yeah. This is my daily, oi, gimme alpha, please, for the love of all that's holy. Okay, this is probably the last question then. Will there be more account-wide features like currencies, especially old ones, account storage, reputation, quest lines for unlocks and skips and so on? So yeah, more account-wide stuff. If, you see, this goes back to my previous point about the leveling. People are really keen for more stuff to go account-wide. If they've, if they've gone back into Wrath of the Lich King and they've gained Exalted with some dudes back in Northrend, just because they've switched from their mage to their hunter, they don't want to have to go back and then re-establish themselves with that faction again. I understand that, thematically it doesn't make perfect sense because you are playing a different character, but even still, if you as a player, let's think about the player for the second here, not the character. If the player has put the time and the effort in at some point to reach Exalted with a faction, I do tend to think, at least in legacy content, maybe not necessarily the current expansion. I think if it's a current expansion and you want to, there's more argument there that if it's the current expansion, then it's a per character basis. But if it's, legacy content, I think you should absolutely have some benefit. Again, give it a boost like the Mr. Pandaria system. Once you're Exalted, get a bonus. Yeah, Mr. Pandaria reputations. Once you get was it a Revered or was it Exalted? It might have been Exalted, but there was a point where you could get a bind on account token. That was one of the very first times they'd done anything bind on account. A bind on account token that gave you a 50% rep boost with that faction. More stuff like that. Maybe make it so that, yeah, sure, thematically, if a different character goes back to that faction, they have a bonus, they can level it up a bit faster. This is, once again, features don't have to be black or white. It doesn't have to be like 100% account wide. They can do stuff to, and it's little things like that show that Blizzard value your time. I know that is a bit of a meme nowadays, but if it shows that Blizzard's like, right, okay, yeah, you've done this once already. You've done your time. you did the crime. You paid for your time. If you want to do that again on another character, they should put something in place to make it significantly easier for you. But let's see if Morgan stays on track here. We already know the answer to this is we want to, but
yes.
No, but...
I'm trying to remember the name of. Oh my gosh, there's so many Dragonflight names that I sometimes forget the Shadowlands names. But I think speaking philosophically, I think Ian did an interview recently where we talked about really taking a hard look at some of our frankly older philosophies about how we handle alts and multiple characters, and really looking at it with a new lens. There's been a ton of changes that you might have.
Am I the only one that thinks that Blizzard talks about philosophy far too much? Do they need a reality check? We are not talking, talking philosophically is great. This is a video game. Fuck. It should be fun. I don't care about the philosophical reasons. I don't care if philosophically it doesn't make sense. It's a game. Is it fun? Yes or no? Like, is grinding a reputation from 4 expansions again on your 3rd alt because you've changed characters over time? Is that fun? No. Then give us a way to do it, you know. Philosophy is going to be the new profession in 11.0. Can you imagine that? You just sat there. All you're doing is you just sat there reading a book. That's the profession. And there's a bar that slowly fills. You have to sit reading a book and this bar slowly fills. And after 8 hours of reading the book, you gain +1 inspiration. Yes, definitely. How fun is that?
I've seen implemented through our Zereth Mortis Zone and Shadowlands, where we're really trying to come up with either catch-up or more alt-friendly currencies or ways to engage with content, where we are keeping in mind that there are tons of people that want to play with multiple characters, and removing the friction and removing hurdles and making it feel
bit of catch-up.
Like it could be frustrating to play that character. We're looking at all of those as an opportunity to make improvements. And I can't remember the name of the currency off the top of my head, but in Zereth Mortis, Cosmic Flux, I think is what it is. We just recently made changes with that as well, so where it was account-wide.
That was a good change.
Yeah, so we're that's a continuation of our philosophy of wanting to improve there, and that's something that we want to bring with us into Dragonflight as well. So there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered there, because like I said, it's very malleable. We're changing a lot of things that we used to previously have been like, well, how do we do it last expansion? Well, how do we do it last patch? We're really taking this as an opportunity to revisit.
These philosophies often come across, you know, Blizzard uses the philosophy line, and it tends to come across, at least to me, it very frequently comes across as if they use it as an excuse because they really don't play the game. You know, that most of the devs, they're just, well, what did we do last expansion? Oh, okay, well, we did this last expansion. Well, we'll do the same again this expansion and we'll just tweak it. There's like not one single part of the thought process is about what is the actual end experience for the player. Professions have been a great example of this for many years. Shadowlands professions were the absolute bare, basic, copy-paste, default template profession system. Tailors makes 2 bags. There was no flavor added to the professions whatsoever in Shadowlands. They took the absolute default template, they pasted it into Shadowlands, and then they were like, oh yeah, and there's this legendary thing. They tried to do a bit of thing with the optional reagents, but the system wasn't there to really support it, so it's taken time to, you know, amalgamate into anything. But it doesn't really feel as if at many periods they look at it from the perspective of, you know, one simple question. Is it fun? Is it fun? Then it comes to engineering. They've run out of ideas. Oh shit, we need another wormhole. We need another wormhole. Quick. Quick. Redo the wormhole. Oh no, we forgot Blingtron. How could we forget Blingtron?
Visit a lot of those previous assumptions.
Oh, we had 2 more questions. Cheeky. If you had an infinite amount of time and money, what would be the first thing you would change in World of Warcraft? If they had an infinite amount of time and money, they wouldn't need to make World of Warcraft. They've already won. EUNA cross-faction play.
That's such a fun question, because we were just talking about like kind of the legacy of World of Warcraft, and I feel like that's one of the unique advantages and things that is so exciting about working on World of Warcraft is almost everything that we've wanted to change, you know, whether it be in a patch or planned for a future. Yes. I'm trying to remember the expansion. We've always been able to.
Why is the dude scrubbing back on the video at the exact same time? What's going on here?
To take a crack at those things, and it's one of the really awesome parts of not just our community but also our team, who's always avid players of the game themselves. And when we're looking for inspiration for new features, not just our community but our team ourselves.
I swear that's got nothing to do with me.
You know, express some of those things that they want to make. So, you know, hey, let's redo our talent system is something that we've heard for years, and you know, we're finally with Dragonflight getting an opportunity to revisit what that is, and that's just kind of a really special part of World of Warcraft.
Where was the answer? You had a really open-ended question. If you had all the money in the world, what would you do? And you said the thing you're already doing. Oh, Morgan, you're usually really good at interviews. What's going on? Oh dear, that one was PR'd to the hills. He's got more hair in that picture. This was pre-Shadowlands stress. Absolutely. Okay. Well, there was some nuggets in that interview. I must admit though, that was a super duper mega PR interview. But we did extract a few things from that for sure. I do really think though there are there's definitely some room for improvement. Absolutely. I think the leveling has got to be addressed. Making it so that people don't need to 100% repeat content if they swap a character is a key component, I think, for me. Having the profession, if they're going to do this level of detail with the professions, I really think that they should, seriously look at making gathering baseline. It's really quite interesting to see that other big content creators out there are also pushing the same narrative of that maybe it's time for gathering to be baseline and you just pick 2 crafting professions that you want to engage with. It allows you to a lot more thematically play your characters. If you are a big bulky plate wearing paladin that's going into war against big dragons, it doesn't make a huge sense for you as a character to then run around picking herbs. You probably want blacksmithing because I want to make myself a big ass shield, and maybe I want to take jewel crafting because I want to bling up my gear to make it super powerful. But sure, if I run past that herb, I'm going to see value in it. I should be able to pick it up, I think this needs to be a narrative that's pushed. I don't think I've come across anybody that thinks making gathering professions baseline is a bad idea. Like, is there any legitimate reason at this point in the game why it shouldn't happen? Materials are going region wide. With materials going region wide, they are going to get, dumpstered into the ground value wise anyway. The materials are going to have a similar value to everybody. There's already a growing concern, a massive growing concern that bots will end up running the material markets regardless. Because, it's not going to take many bots running 24 hours a day farming herbs to have quite a dramatic effect on the supply of materials in the economy. What it will now be on a region-wide scale, not just even locally. So just give everybody the ability to pick up herbs and mine ore and skin animals. You don't need yet another gatherer, so less alts, less played time. Very bad idea. Oh yes, there's all of a sudden we made gathering baseline, and out of nowhere, all of the druids disappeared. Why was druid the #1 class in the game for 15 years? We make gathering baseline. All the druids have gone. Who stole all the druids? Oh dear. 100 gold an hour from alchemy and dragonflight, maybe. Bots are going to have trouble with dragon riding, though. Possibility. Druid's still OP with the insta-mount, true. Many players previously chose mining and herbalism. As you now make these baseline, they'll now be just additional blacksmiths, leatherworkers, jewel crafters, etc. Yeah, I mean, but I don't see a bad thing in that. I certainly don't see that as a bad thing. I think, it makes a lot more sense if more people are playing with the actual crafting professions because they're fun. That arguably they're more fun. You can these profession trees are going to be a lot more engaging. You're going to have that one guy in the guild that's going to be really good at making swords and pointy things. Then you're going to have that guy in the guild that's, spec'd into making the helms. You're going to get him to make you your helm for the raid. You ain't never going to turn around, oi, miner, oi, got any ore? It's just not the same, is it? Like, from a gameplay perspective, I don't think it's... Everybody should be able to pick up the ore in the herbs and stuff. Just delete the class. See you later, druids, in a bit. Laters. Right then. Well, boys and girls, I'm going to leave it there for today. There was some interesting stuff in that interview. I'm not going to lie. I know we went pretty critical. I know we went pretty hard on that interview, but even still, what I would like to point out and clarify is that it's really good that these interviews are happening more frequently. Even if we have to try and fight through...
Hello there.
Have to fight through the PR talk and to extract the answers we're actually looking for. But with enough developers coming forward and doing interviews, it's only a good thing. So, I'm going to go get me some food. We are, what day is it? Thursday, right? It's Thursday. So tomorrow's Friday. We might, I've not decided, we might play something a bit different tomorrow. We've been very Warcraft focused on the streams this week. I don't have Dragonflight access, which is annoying me greatly, as I would really like to be able to see some of this for myself, but unfortunately I don't have the ability to do that. So maybe we might play, I don't know, that stupid cat game looks weirdly interesting. I've seen a few people playing that. What the flipping hell is it called? You know, the cat game. I'm tempted to download that and have a little play, run around as a putty cat and do some. Yeah, we'll see. Go email Blizzard now. Get yourself your access. Stray, that's the one. Yeah, I'm tempted to give Stray a go. It looks pretty. It doesn't look very long. It looks like the kind of thing we could probably bash it out in a stream if we were smart about it. So we'll see. We might do that. What's flipping like in WoW? I've flipped tons in other games, never did it in WoW. Flipping's the ultimate gold making activity. If you get good at flipping, that's literally how you make gold. Everything else you're primarily trading time for. You're exchanging time for gold. Flipping is the only one that realistically doesn't have a ceiling of opportunity to it, especially when you start doing it on multiple realms. It's good. It's about 7 hours, I think. We could, in theory, bang out Stray in one sitting, I reckon. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to go get me some food. Enjoy the rest of your day, boys and girls. Have fun. Is there anybody on that we can throw you all to? Is there anybody that's up and running? Is Zanzaful online at the moment? Jack's shouting raid at me. Who's online? Towley's on, is he? We can throw you all over to Towley, I suppose. He's online at the moment. Towley was obviously who we watched the video for earlier, so let's do that then. Let's do that. Where's raid? Let's get raiding on the go. Let's throw you all over Towley's way. He's probably going through some Dragonflight stuff. Right then, boys and girls, that's me done for the day. Have a good one. I'll catch you all next time. Peace.